Hey y'all, it's me again, Joey.
Well, ready to let them loose?
Yep, that's it. Let's see if they make us run.
Oh,
Probably so.
yeah, that one tried to get after him, but other than that, what can you expect? I mean, can you blame them? Oh yeah, they're getting after us now. Go, Joey, go!
Hey man!
Hey man, buddy. I'm gonna get in the truck. You gotta go back and get your camera.
But also, just get as many as you can off the one next to it, get out.
We gotta move away.
Do that side again. Y'all ready? Let's get started. Hello everybody. Hey JW, how you doing?
Good evening. None good.
Look like we're getting a full house here already.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to keep up with everybody that was saying hello, and something jammed over here and I had to reboot my computer. So hello to everybody over in the chat. Appreciate y'all coming in. Well, what you been doing today, Mr. JW, or this week?
No, I gave my entire 36 colonies another treatment of oxalic acid today. Gave them all 4 grams. Every hive in my yards. I got 2 different yards. I treated everything I had. Getting ready to shut them down for the winter. And they're right. It was almost 70 here today. My bees were flying big time. I had a couple of buckets of honey that I'd put in my bottling tank, and put the buckets that the honey'd been in out for the bees to clean up. And I mean, I had a packed house, so to speak. They were really flying here today.
Yeah.
We'd had 3 or 4 rainy, cloudy days and hadn't been doing much, so.
I hadn't yet, Nancy. Trying to click
When
on
you go
everybody
down
that's
New
coming
Year's,
in.
they're having that New Year's Day evening, you know. I'm not going to go down to the. Honey King is with us.
Hey.
Yeah. I'm driving
Hello.
on the first going down. How you? What's up, man?
Just trying to recover. I had market this morning.
Oh yeah.
But building a few bee boxes this evening. But how y'all doing?
How are you? All right.
Yeah.
Kind of tired, and I don't know why. Let's see. I done got confused who I've already clicked on here. Well,
Hey, Brian.
I'll tell y'all what. I have mentioned it before, and I am seeing more hives having to be defensive every day, and today just seems like it's like everybody's trying to rob each other, but you see them knock them down and they'll fly away. You know, everybody so far has stood their ground, but I've never seen it this bad, and that's why I put feeders out. I hadn't been, never have been a big advocate of feeding just when I have to, you know. But I got one. This little one by my.
I don't know.
We'll move it tomorrow. Do what?
When I put some, when, hey Tom,
Hello.
when I put a little, I don't put food out, but when I'm like bottling honey and I put out the screen or whatever for them to clean up or an empty
Yeah.
bucket, they get pretty crazy. They get pretty crazy on that. But to be honest with you, I hadn't gone out there and really just looked at the hives to see how they're treating each other. I have not noticed much robbing in my bees, but maybe I'm not paying attention.
Well, I can just like this little one right by my door here. They're usually always have been normal, just flying in and out like everybody else. But the last week or two, they've been like a bunch of them building up on front and just kind of all over the place. And every now and then you'll see a pair hit the ground, and one of them will hit the ground and take off, and the other one will kind of fly back up to the hive.
Joe, I went through that, I don't know, 2.5 weeks ago, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe last week of October, I suppose. It had about the same here. Mine's pretty well settled down now. Seems to be ready for winter, I hope.
Hey, JB. I had a couple that came up to me at the farmer's market today, and they told me that bees was trying to get in their hummingbird feeders. So they decided they would put out some bee feeders for them. I don't know what that was exactly, but they said that they had to take them down because the bees was being real aggressive. And I quizzed them a little bit more. I said, "What do you mean by aggressive?" And they said, "Well, they was just acting real, going crazy and flying around and fighting each other and all that stuff." And I said, "Well, did they bother you?" And they said, "No, they didn't bother us." Because they said, "We thought they was Africanized by the way they was acting." And I said, "No, that wasn't. That's just bees when there's nothing to eat out there. That's the way they act." I said, "That's robbing." And they said, "Well, we'll go ahead and put it back up then." I said, "Even if there was Africanized bees, they're not going to bother you while they're trying to get that food."
Unless you get in their way.
Yeah, I guess if you go in there and try to knock them out, I said, if you don't touch them, they're not going to mess with you.
Yeah.
So they were going to go home and put it back up. I said, "Yeah, don't worry about it. Just watch them. Just enjoy them."
I had one
Well,
more.
my sound is okay.
Oh yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah,
Okay, it's coming through this earbud.
I was trying to see that. What is that? What are those original Picassos there behind you? Is it, Philip?
Let's see. That's actually, let me see if I can show you what that is. That's actually a school project that I did when I was in college. I don't know. That's the Villa Rotunda. But we had to take a tiny little sketch, and we had to make a little grid on it, and we had to draw it real big, and then we had to color it in.
Yeah.
Pen and ink.
I thought maybe you.
But yeah, that is my work. I did draw that.
Yeah.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
And that thing over my right shoulder is that's a poster from Natchez, Mississippi. That they have a balloon festival in Natchez, Mississippi. I used to go to. Joey knows where Natchez is.
I know where it is also. Yeah.
Made a mini motorcycle ride to Natchez.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I was showing cattle and horses all the time, I've got snowed in 2 different places I was all over the United States. One time or another, I got snowed in Jackson, Mississippi, and Nashville, Tennessee. 2 places snowed in.
Well, getting snowed.
Yeah, I went from
getting snowed in Jackson. Yeah, Jackson.
Yeah, sure did.
Jackson doesn't get very much snow, so you just brought them some bad luck, JB.
No,
I mean JW.
we sit there.
And Nashville used to get a good bit of snow. Yeah, every time we would go up, my grandparents is from Fairview, which is right outside of Nashville. It's kind of over there toward where Nathan with Duck River Honey
Yeah.
is. And he's a little bit south of the freeway, and this is a little too, but it's just barely south. But every time we'd go there in the winter, we'd get snowed in. It seemed like,
Yeah.
which I loved as a kid.
I've got a honey creaming question. Kind of a broad question.
All right.
Anybody want to answer it, welcome to it. But I hadn't made any creamed honey in probably 5 or 6 years. Well, maybe further than that, because it's been nearly 5 years since I retired. Probably been about 7 years. But the way I used to do it, I'd get seed. I'd get seed from somebody, and I'd mix it with the like 9-to-1 or 10-to-1, and I'd stir it or get the blender and blend it a little bit, 3 or 4 or 5, half a dozen times a day for about 3 days, and then I'd put it in the refrigerator. I didn't have one I could control the temperature to. I just had an extra refrigerator, and I'd just set it on its highest setting and put it in there, and it did okay. But I've been watching videos, and some people that's telling how to do it don't know the difference between whipped honey and creamed honey. When they're telling it, you can tell they don't know the difference. And some of them is just whipping it and then jarring it. Some of them's adding the seed and actually whipping it, then jarring it. Some of them's putting it up for several days before they jar it. There's just so many different ways to. And I hadn't been paying a whole lot of attention here lately. I don't know what would be the best way to do it. I've got a batch I'm working on right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to make some, and I don't know the difference either.
Yeah. Now, I've never had a real issue making it the way I made it, before. But we didn't get a big blender, but me and the wife went and picked us up one of them little Walmart KitchenAids. So I'm making about a gallon at a time or so. And
oh, dummy there, Joey. He called in the boss because he knows that he don't know. I can tell you that.
Exactly.
I was gonna say that. I got my boss here. She'll answer the question.
So that's like a huge pet peeve of mine is when people call whipped honey creamed honey, because it's not creamed honey. It's just whipped honey. All you've done is add air into your honey and made it light.
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? Because a lot of us, and we had a class years ago when our club first started on the terminology of high body parts and everything.
Yes.
And one of the discussions was a lot of people think if it's a honey box, that's the only thing that gets called a super is a honey box.
Right.
Yeah.
If you go back and look in some of the older books, any box on top of another one is actually a super. That's where the word
Tom was just telling somebody that today, actually.
Yeah. And you hear a lot of people say, I'm going to put a super on. Okay. What's it for?
Right.
But
hey,
anyway.
now I want to just preface this. This is not a how to. This is just a how we do. Okay. I'm just want to preface.
Yeah. We get that out of the way right now, huh?
The one and the only.
So
yeah.
And actually today we were at a market and there was another honey vendor there. They had two products. They had liquid honey and they had creamed honey, but they weren't calling it creamed honey. They were calling it spun honey.
Spun honey.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, I didn't say anything to him, but I'm like, it's just so bad it just makes things so much more confusing, you know? So for me, like whipped honey is just introducing air into your honey and making it light, where creamed honey is pretty dense and you know, it's thick and spreadable. So for what I do is I use the dice method. So I heat my honey, make sure, for me, it's mostly to make sure it's uncrystallized, but I understand it gets rid of all the yeast also. And then I do a 10-to-1 ratio, 10 parts runny honey to 1 part seed. And I mix it, you know, I have the Hilco creamer, and I mix it in that Hilco creamer for at least a week. I usually do it at least 2 weeks. And then after that, I jar it and I put it in the refrigerator for at least a week to set up. Ryan, why do you say that? Like, what would you, because yeah, when you say creamed honey, people get so confused. Like, do you put milk in it? Is there cream in it? And then you have to,
candy honey.
and then you have to do the whole explanation. And even like our state fair on the honey show entry, they call it candied honey. They don't even call it creamed honey. They call it candied honey.
Well, it's actually.
So what makes it whipped versus creamed?
It's creamed honey. Creamed honey is what you're describing,
right,
Melissa. It's what it is. It's not. That's the correct name for it, according to the man that made it, Dice, out of Cornell University, and he did exactly what you did. He killed the yeast. He basically pasteurizes it. So that you kill every bit of crystal, so it can't follow the wrong crystal, and that you turn around and you kill the yeast off, and then you turn around and you mix a 10-to-1 mixture. I don't know if you have to do 2 weeks. That's pretty extreme. He didn't quite do it that long, I don't think. But
no,
I think mixed it. You
know, I do it a little bit longer because my understanding is the longer you mix it, the lighter it will get. So I just do it a little bit longer to get it a little bit lighter of a coloring.
And the key for creamed honey, according to him, when he made it, it was patented by him, was to make sure you have no air whatsoever. You really want all the air out.
Right.
And then it becomes creamed honey. And it was an alternative to liquid honey that was crystallizing on the tables, and a way to keep the honey for a long time. And so that's why I got rid of the yeast, so you wouldn't ferment this stuff. I actually had a creamed honey I got from somebody at the expo, and it's been sitting for, I don't know, since last expo. And all of a sudden I've looked and it's full of honey, and I look and it's all puffy inside and it had fermented. So, you know, it's got to be, it really has to be stable when you mix it up like that. But it's definitely creamed honey. That's what it is. And whipped honey is just whipping air into it.
Right. And then, like I said, this person at the market today, she's calling it spun honey. And I'm like, that's just not.
That's another term. I've heard that before.
And she showed it to me. Like, it's not whipped. It's creamed honey, but hers definitely wasn't as like a smooth as. Did you try it?
It was really good.
It definitely wasn't a smooth texture like mine is. There were granules in it. So she probably didn't to eliminate that crystallization issue.
Well, the seed I used is about as smooth as any I've ever had. I got it from Greg Don, and I'm telling you, it's smooth. That's some of the smoothest cream honey I've ever tried. But I use that for seed. And another video I watched while I'm thinking about it, they said you could make creamed honey without seed. All you had to do was just put it in whatever you're going to churn it with.
Yeah.
And it will not allow it to make big granulars. It'll only allow it to make small granulars. I'm telling you, I have seen some videos. I'm not going to call who did them or anything, but
yeah, I've seen those videos before too. Like, there's people that just put some crystallized honey in like a food processor and do it that. I'm like, that's not. I mean, I guess it might work, but it's not going to get those crystals fine enough, you know, to where you got that real good smooth texture that you're looking for. So
That's the thing is it's I've seen people take it down to the powder, and I think that's how it was first made. I like to study how it was made. That's why I'm real particular about what I call it. But that's what they did was to make a seed, was to take it all the way down to like a powder. You can buy that stuff from and I didn't do it. I couldn't go through with it. It's from Daydant. It's a cream honey starter, and what it is dextrose, and it's basically like a cornstarch type of
Mike, you know, I got a bag of that in the house. I bought it 7 years ago or whenever, and I never used it
too. Yeah.
So the very first time that I made creamed honey, I sat with a mortar and pestle and oh no, now we've got the real authority in here.
Well, look, up here, long and Apiary. That man. I went back and rewatched a lot of his videos. They are serious about some cream honey over there.
Those are the videos to watch, Joey. Watch Doug's videos. He knows what he's doing.
Who?
Truckload.
Doug Longman.
Yeah. But,
and I would say this about that crystallized blender method. I think you're right, Melissa. There might be times where it could work, but the whole point of the dice process is to control the whole method.
Right.
And you're not in control of the whole method when you're doing it like that.
Well, and like I've told this story before, most of you probably heard me say, the first time that I made seed, I took that crystallized honey and with a mortar and pestle, I swear to God, it was like 5 hours one night. I ground that stuff down until I got it the texture I liked. And then over a week or so, maybe 2 weeks, I increased that seed, you know, by adding liquid to it, letting it set up, adding more liquid to it, letting it set up. And then by the end of that year, a rogue crystal had gotten in there and ruined my entire thing. So and I wasn't using the dice method then. I was just using liquid honey from our heated bottling tanks. So ever since then, that's when I switched to the dice method, and because I'm like gun shy now, so I want that control so I can make sure that doesn't happen again. And
it's funny Brian said that though. When you say controlled crystallization, that's what I tell people when they ask me what it is. I say it's pure honey and I control the crystallization.
Right.
That's right. I say we're manipulating that crystallization process to make it more palatable, Mike. Smooth and creamy texture, not that sandy, grainy crystallization.
Right. So then,
Brian,
wasn't going to. Go ahead, Joey. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I wasn't going to spend 5 hours again making seed, so I bought seed from COX Honey Farm.
Yeah, and that's what I got.
It was really, really good. I bought 12 pound bucket of it. But so when
Tom, that's why you're so creamy, right?
But so like when I talk to customers and I'm telling them about it, I'm like, I take, it's just ground down crystallized honey into a really fine, smooth paste. I go, we're just changing.
Dang, Tom.
It's still, I know he's about to get in trouble.
Yeah,
it's still crystallized honey.
I think he's
just changed that crystal structure to make them really, really small crystals. So it's still crystallized honey, and now I'm going to add liquid honey to it, and it's going to take on that same crystalline structure. And then people are fascinated by it by when you tell them what the process is.
But another cool analogy is comparing it to a sourdough starter, right? With that seed, like your starter, and then you're just feeding it. Once you get that starter, that seed going, all you're doing is feeding it, and it makes itself.
It's like sourdough without the discard.
Yeah.
So I know several of y'all, and Brian, I think you did or do used the magic, what you call it, the KitchenAid.
No, I have a 18-gallon license.
Well,
I was going to say you got the license. I used the KitchenAid the first time I did it, but
I know there were several in here before they went to the real deal. They were using that, but that thing will still whip it, even in low speed.
Yeah,
it's still whipping it.
I started with the drill and the 5-gallon bucket. That's how I started.
That's what I did too, Brian. The first time I did it.
Yeah. Now, Mike, I got a compliment and a question for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I didn't call you. I told Joey I was going to call you last night, and I didn't. I ended up getting busy.
Okay. No,
So I figured, hey,
Well,
if
he
you're
made
going to
a
be on
liar
here,
out of me, Brian.
I did.
You kind of answered a lot of questions for me like 11 months ago, because I remembered you had done a video or two with your apiary inspector. And I'm just gathering data. We have a couple people in our state that are interested in kind of creating a program, and I just want to walk into it knowing both sides of the situation. And one thing I learned from your video, in fact, you actually asked the inspector this. You must have had the conversation off screen, but you asked them, like, you don't necessarily have to be like a master beekeeper level beekeeper to be able to do this job. You just have to learn how to do the several diagnostics that you have to do within a colony. And really, most beekeepers could learn how to do that with a little bit of training. And that was a piece I definitely walked away from your video as a new piece of learning as I was gathering information. So I really appreciated that. Yeah.
He had said that. He actually said that in a, he said that in a phone call or something. He'd said something. He says, well, just because I was an inspector don't mean I was a great beekeeper. And he left it at that. And that stuck in my head. And I said, I got to ask him about that when he comes. And so it's when he explained it. He's like, hey, there's a lot more to it, just keeping bees. And I like what he said at the very end. He said, if you ain't figured out yet how to keep them alive for 365 days, he said, you ain't hitting on much yet. So you're right.
Will you spend a minute and just talk about your experiences with your state apiary inspector program, kind of the pros and cons as you see it, what works and what doesn't?
That's the most I've spent with him, Brian, to be honest with you. That's why I told Joey. I said, I don't have a whole lot to offer except for when my bees were poisoned. I had almost my whole yard wiped out, and I believe it was malicious. That's what we're kind of leaning towards. This happened about, I don't know, like 2014 maybe? No, it had to be 2016. Anyway, it knocked out 90% of the colonies, and so I called, and all I'd ever done with them here in Louisiana, they don't come see us. They're not like in Florida. Now, Florida, they'll inspect theirs once a year. There's almost, I think it's required. They have 6 inspectors in different zones.
Right.
But ours, you actually have to pay them to come see you unless it's a problem, unless you got foul brood or something, then they're going to come. But that's all they're here for, is to check for disease. And I get, I called them, and he immediately dispatched a state pesticide team out here to do all the testing and everything, because he listened to me on the phone, and he's like, yep, that's what it is. It's pesticide. Hands down, it's got to be for like 20 colonies to go down. But he didn't come out. So the only other experience I had with him, I asked him during when we were, I don't know if I did it on camera or not, but I asked him, what are your responsibilities? Because I was picking his brain on selling nukes. And he said, here in Louisiana, they don't all they do is they inspect nukes and stuff coming into the state. They inspect anything coming in on comb into the state, and they do random checks. And they also keep tabs on the commercial guys as far as testing those guys, because they know they're sending bees in and out of the state. That's really it over here. We aren't that serious except for collecting a fee.
Do you guys have to register? You have to register your hives then?
Yeah, absolutely. You do have to register them, but that's a money thing. You know?
It is a law in Louisiana to register. You have to register your beehives.
But and there's a list. You can go on. They got it's public too. They don't. Not only that, they put it out there, and they put your address and everything out there on the internet. You can go. You know, you can go find out where anybody lives, and
that ain't right.
We're coming to visit you next weekend, Mike.
Yeah, I was thinking about y'all today when I was cutting grass. Matter of fact. I always think about Tom when I get under my one live oak. I always think, which way around the tree would he go if I was working for him?
Oh, hey, so okay, which way do you go? Answer that question for me.
It depends on what point I'm at. But if I'm a quarter of the way, I go to the left. If I'm halfway over, I go to the right.
And what you're using the next mark, right?
Yeah.
And that's a right side discharge.
That's right. So
okay,
as long as I'm not blowing stuff into me, I'm good.
Okay, I scold my guys for that.
It depends. See, I blow my leaves up against my live oaks.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're going to do that, then I understand.
Yeah, but if I'm going around a bed, I don't want to blow grass clippings in the bed or anything. Then I go with the chute to the other side.
Yeah,
I think I would make it. I'd make it in your operation.
I always tell the guys that the left side of the mower deck is your trim side. It's not the right side because you can end up scalping something or cutting something off with the right side
That's
of the
true.
deck. It's a no-no.
That's my whipped cream honey.
Your whipped cream honey.
Right now it's whipped cream.
That is light. Can you send me an email sample real quick? I want to try that.
Sure.
So your guys' it sounds like your guys' inspection, apiary, whatever, is one step above ours. Like they basically only come out if we call them and they're there for bees coming into the state, but only if you let them know you're bringing bees into the state.
Right. That's right.
But we don't have to register anything.
But you say they. See, we have one.
No, we have one.
Yeah,
we have
We
one.
just have one for the whole state.
We have one inspector and we have one apiarist who's state entomologist. So he's there for all agriculture, not just bees.
Yeah, we just have one guy who's for the bees.
Yep. So we're not. So we Louisiana don't have a lot to offer for you, Brian. Really, but
no, this is very helpful because this is one thing I'm learning is that there are standards of operation from state to state that are very different, and some work and some don't. And there are different services like outreach and education seems to be one of those things that's going really well with this program. Some of the enforcement pieces, the staffing, the budgeting, those are some of the themes that I see as like challenges. If you've only got one person covering the state, you should have a pretty laissez-faire system because you can't cover everybody all at once, you know? Ohio is supposed to have a person for every single county.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So to see the variations and then to hear someone like Mark Miller was like, yeah, I learn every single time this guy comes to my place, I learn something new. And to hear that from someone like Mark Miller, who I respect as a beekeeper, I'm like, well, that's going to formulate my opinion. So every bit of all these conversations, Mike, have added into this kind of tapestry of understanding that I've built over.
So what are y'all building? Like, what exactly are you trying to build?
I'm not trying to build anything. I'm just trying to gather information. There's a couple other people in my state that have their bee in their bonnet a little bit about this topic. We haven't had a state apiarist in a long time. And I just want to go into it with full information, understanding all the benefits and the problems. So if we and all the options. So if we were to formulate something, we were doing it based on as much information as possible.
Yeah.
Well, the benefits are definitely if there's a benefit to it, it's a disease deal.
Right.
You know, because if you get an outbreak, you know, you can isolate things, or even when it comes to mites and treating and all that good stuff, any new types of stuff coming out, you know, it's good to have somebody that's kind of pulling all that information together. That I think is a benefit of it for sure, because you need to know what's happening in the state and in the bees. I mean, just because a commercial guy doesn't have a problem out there and there's 4 of those that they're watching, you got 12 hobbyists that got American foul brood going on in one corner of the state. That's something you really need to be on top of, you know, and people need to know, especially your commercial guys, because they buy nukes from some of the smaller sideliners, you know?
Yeah.
So I think there's a benefit to it for sure. People go, oh my gosh, the government, I ain't registering my hives, I ain't doing it. I'm like, they already know what you're doing. You got one of these, right? They know what you're doing. Trust me.
I think the biggest problem is when the program can't be funded, and when the staffing doesn't support the regulations. For example, if you need to register your nukes to be able to sell them, but that inspector can't get to you till July, you're going to sell your nukes in May anyway, you know, stuff like that. So that's what I'm concerned about, putting regulations in place that put the working guy, you know, put an obstacle instead of an opportunity in front of the working guy.
Well, and that's kind of what I was talking to you about, you know, it's like, how far do you want to go one way or the other? You know, you create like ours, we have one, but there's no real regulations to it. It's just, if you need help, if you think you have disease, he comes out, and obviously they keep record of foul brood outbreaks and whatnot. But it's like, okay, how far does it go? They start, you know, making you register. Then what other regulations? Like I said, Cayman said many times how Tennessee, you can't sell any used equipment if it doesn't have live bees in it. you know, I feel like in our state anyway, we have the apiarist. They basically keep track of foul brood and other diseases. But I think like as far as the education part, they leave that up to the state club and the regular small, you know, like well not small, but the little town club, you know, the EMBA and for your, you know, the local clubs. That's what I'm looking for. So they're not. I mean, when the inspector comes out and you have questions for him, he'll educate you, obviously. But I think that overall, they leave that into the hands of the state association and then the local clubs.
Cool. How about you, Philip? What's your experience been like?
Well, I've never had an inspector come out. When I first started, I read the regulations, and back then the regulations in Texas were you had to register if you had 6 or more colonies. And I got to that pretty fast, so I went ahead and registered. You also have to you have to pay like a $15 a year fee to move bees county to county. And since I had the farm is obviously in a different county than here, I went ahead and registered for each county. But it was just 15 total. And you could list all the counties in Texas if you wanted to. But when I was in it a couple of years, they changed the law in Texas, and now registration for hobbyists is completely voluntary. They still recommend you register, and there's no cost to register your hives. It's not a yearly fee or anything. But moving bees is also, there's another fee if you're going to move them in and out of the state. They charge for that. And if you sell bees or queens, you're supposed to have a yearly inspection and a little sign off that says you don't have any disease in your colonies.
Right. Have you done that
you
yet?
You can still sell bees, but you have. I have not done that. I'm going to try to get that done this year. But I'm like you, I don't know if they'll be able to get to me or not. I mean, there's a lot of people in Texas that sell bees, so. But I'm still going to ask for it. Now, I did sell a couple of nukes last year, and the alternative is you can have an affidavit with each nuke you sell that says to your best of your knowledge, information, and belief that your bees are disease free, which is sort of what I did. But when I looked up the definition of affidavit, it's really supposed to have a notary, and I didn't get a notary for it. I just wrote the note, signed it, and gave it to the people that bought the bees, just so I could get as close as I could to the regulations. But yeah, I'm going to try to get an inspection this year, and we'll see how quick that happens. I don't know. There is a fee for that, though. I think it's like $100 to have them come out and do that. Yeah, it's pretty expensive. And I think for people that sell queens, it's $300.
Oh man!
If you're gonna, but I'm not gonna sell queens, so to speak, unless they're a nuke.
Yeah. Hey, Philip, what if somebody from another state wanted to move bees into your state? What does that look like? Do you know?
I'm not exactly sure, but I would assume that they would be required to have that interstate permit.
Yeah.
To move it in, and there's a fee associated with that. I don't know what it is.
I didn't know if I would need to have an inspection first and then come to, or if I could go to your state and have the apiarists come out and inspect them at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. Now there's another rather, in my opinion, a little bit ominous requirement. You're supposed to have all of your colonies marked with your name and either your registration number or your name and address.
Yeah.
And
that's how Florida
they will. Yeah, they will allow. Like I'm starting to mark mine with my name and my phone number. It's really just so they can get a hold of you if your hives turn up somewhere that they're not supposed to be, I guess.
Yeah.
Illinois has got a website. They have a state apiarist who's in charge of the apiaries in Illinois, and Illinois is divided in, I think, like 8 sections. A couple of them don't have inspectors right now, but it's divided up. I think there's if they're at full staff, so to speak. I think there's 8 of them in Illinois. But
so I think it's a meeting.
Illinois, you You can get on that website. You can Google it, and I think just the Illinois State apiaries. And
I think at the conference last week in JW, there was like 4 of them there. Like there's a new one, and then she had like 3 of her staff there or something like that.
well,
I think they introduced her at the beginning when you and Tom were out politicking.
fish chasing women.
Hey, how did we do?
JW, do you have any experience with your state apiarist?
No, I haven't seen one in 5 years. But if you sell bees or take them out of state, it's a requirement in Illinois to move bees. You have to have them inspected prior to doing so, and then they give you a certificate of approval or non-approval. And if you sell nukes, if you sell packages, or if you move bees out of state, there's no charge for registering apiaries, but they suggest that you do, which I do, and they've actually got it. They want your GPS location, lat, lawn, and where they're at, and how many hives are at that location, and so forth. Is a requirement if you register them.
Okay.
It's not required that you do register.
Gotcha.
No
If
charge.
you register,
Yeah.
that's kind of funny.
Now you said that was for the drift watch, right?
Was that directed to me, Tom?
Yes, sir. Yes, that was directed toward the drift watch, right?
No, that's for the
State things, register.
areas.
No, I understand that. What I'm asking is they want to know your direct latitude, and longitude for drift watch.
Well, drift watch is supposedly federal, the way I understand it. If you get on drift watch, it'll pop up in different the entire United States.
I think, Tom, they want to know your lat lawn, so if there's an AFB case, they can communicate to colonies within a certain range.
Yeah. I was
Exactly.
going to go.
Yeah.
I was
And
a little bit on that. So I like the idea of having several of the state apiarists, within a state. I don't have a problem with, making a log of how many colonies I have and pretty close proximity to where they're at. I don't have an issue with that. The issue that I always take, and this might sound a little bit funny, but there's always a lot of overreach when it comes to things, right? Everything seems to be really heavy-handed. Next thing you know, they're first the program's made, and now all of a sudden you have to pay for each colony or pay for the colonies. And now you have to have yearly inspections, and you have to pay for that. Now they want to, it's like a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. That's my reservation, but I don't have a problem with it from a perspective of, hey, we want to check health of the colony and things of that nature. I don't see any issue with that whatsoever. I always have that little bit of skepticism when it comes to what I would describe as a little bit of overreach on things,
It's a balance between the them sticking their nose in your business and them supporting you, supporting the industry and you giving up a little bit of that privacy for the good of the community. And that is a little bit of what it is. You're letting people know a little bit about your beekeeping operation, but it is, again, for that good of the community. And
well, it goes both ways too, right? I like that what you said. It's giving up a little bit for the good of the community, but then you turn around, you get somebody like Alabama. In Alabama, the inspector in Florida told me how his father was definitely responsible. He helped forge the way for that whole thing they have, where no bees can be moved into Alabama that are on comb, meaning nukes can't be moved into the state. So the guys living on the border can't buy nukes from somebody in Mississippi, and so they've got it locked down. And so it really hurts a lot of beekeepers. And all that was commercial beekeepers back in the day that had their lock on the, and I understand their interest. They were worried about, people coming in and taking their business. But at the same time, hey, that's competition. And so what they did was they were like warlords, and they had their little communities. And so then you get it going that direction. And then it's like Tom said, next thing you know, they're sticking their nose into stuff that, like, what difference does it make if I'm buying? Okay, so inspect the guy coming over the line, but don't say he can't bring them.
Yeah.
You can't even bring them. So if you live in Mississippi and have a hunting camp in Alabama, you can't bring your hives over there.
Hey, Lee's got a couple of things we're gonna
So,
pull up right
hey,
quick, and one of them I've got an echo. Somebody's echoing. Let's pull up the Louisiana apiary registration first, Lee, and get it out of the way. And look at, just show them a picture of that.
So,
That's
hey, Joey, Mark Miller said something earlier. I just wanted not to get buried, but he said that his challenge is to not treat his bees so he could get his Harbo test accurate, but also passing his inspections. And my question to Mark or to anybody out there is, how many mites is too many? Is that something that's written?
Yeah.
Or is that just the judgment of the inspector? I mean, how would they determine how many mites would be too many?
That threshold is usually written. That's a written threshold. Most places are there's some that are 2% and some that are 3%.
Yeah, most I heard of 3% usually.
But I couldn't tell you where, but I know it's written, whether it's the research that they're going off of or what. But they set a threshold in each state, I'm sure, because I know Louisiana talks about that. So you know,
I know it's not in the state law, but they do talk about that they have to be disease free, or I don't know if it says free. It might say free of pests. But heck, if you found one mite, that shouldn't keep you from selling bees.
Right.
All right, Brian, that's our registration right there.
Okay.
That's part of it. Leah had to scroll it. Did you see the amount for the hive?
Can you zoom in on that price point piece? Thank you.
You got to look at Class A and Class B because you got non-residents and residents, and you also have commercial.
Okay.
So, you know, commercial guy comes in and they like to park a lot of bees down here in the winter. So a guy might bring 5,000, to 10,000 hives down here, and he's forking out some cash. You know, it's just a couple $100, but still.
You're non-resident.
And Brian, if I may interject, Illinois is similar to that, and I think you can pop theirs up if you go to their website.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One thing I like about that registration is, first, I wish they'd do it online, but you can put the address of where the bee yards are, or you can put the Google, what's the word I'm looking for? The actual location on Google where they can pinpoint.
I don't know how people's insurance works, but like my insurance for my bees, I have liability on my honey cells and my bee yards. When it comes to locations, not only I put them on my registry because I also have to tell my insurance company where all my yards are for liability purposes.
Yeah.
So the state knows and the insurance company knows. And for Louisiana, what we have down here is a mosquito abatement districts in each parish. And so, or for you guys don't know, our parishes are our counties, and the mosquito abatement now used to, it depends who's in charge each time, but the mosquito abatement, they go to the database at the Louisiana, the registry at Louisiana's Apiary program, and they check where everybody lives. And so used to be, I would get a renewal each year from abatement right after I renewed with Louisiana, and they say, okay, we know you have hives in these 2 locations. We'll turn our sprayers off as long as they're, if anywhere 300 feet or closer. And so you could hear the mosquito sprayer on my road years back, and he would shut off down the road, and then he'd crank it back up when he got past my road. So there's multiple reasons for us.
If they would spray it at the right time anyway, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't agree with that because them things are bearding. And I seen a guy, they sprayed in Mandeville at night, and they sprayed by his house.
Truck, man. I'm talking about the truck.
The truck killed his hives in his backyard in Mandeville. Went right by and knocked both of them out. And what it was all those bees were bearding in the middle of summer.
Oh.
So it got him, Now I will say this: you and I, Joey, we're a ways off the road, so I agree on our yards. But his yard was literally 50 feet from the road. Yeah. They didn't know he was there. They sprayed right by his place and killed his hives.
Mike, being in a humid climate like you are, sometimes those herbicides and pesticides can lift off the plant whenever you have a lot of fog or humidity in the air. particularly late in the day or what have you, and that can cause that poison to suspend for a while. So it isn't just drift. Sometimes it can actually set in the air for a minute and possibly being here in a really humid climate. Maybe that's what happened.
You go by those trucks, you go behind those trucks sometimes. I can't stand it, man, because it just doesn't seem right for me to be breathing that. And you'll see it. It'll be laid in the air, just like you say, Tom. I mean, it'll be 10 feet above the road, just laid in the air, spreading out, you know.
That's
now,
right.
like Joey was saying, for us at night, if they would spray at night when they're supposed to, like he and I were ways off the road, it wouldn't hurt us. But, you know, it's just, at least that's another thing with the registration, listing addresses for insurance, for mosquito abatement districts, if you have them in Texas or Alabama or something, you know, things like that. It's a win-win, I think. They haven't overstepped their bounds, at least here in Louisiana.
When I was actually still working, I was going to put a few hives on a fellow's property that was right in the middle of the little, it's not really a town. It's still classified as a village, Vornado. And I had a good place there already set up. I was going to put me about a half a dozen colonies out there. And the day before I was going to move them, I got behind the mosquito truck 2 hours before sundown.
Yeah, they don't spray when they're supposed to.
I ain't doing it.
You know, I tell you, the other problem we have too, now this helps, but the only place it doesn't help is mosquito abatement when they do aerial spraying. They're going to do aerial spraying whether they got bees or not. They claim it doesn't, it's not going to kill them after so many minutes and all that. Well, I'm thinking to myself, then why even bother? Because it's not going to kill mosquitoes after that long either. I guess it's hitting them at higher elevations. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, just so y'all know, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but I tell you, the guy that was spraying them was doing the aerial spraying on me. You know who it was, Joey?
I do.
I'm going to say it. I tell you who was doing our aerial spraying over top of my house was Good Time Charlie.
Good Time Charlie.
Good Time Charlie flew, you know, Good Time Charlie was a Huey pilot in Vietnam, and he flew all the way out when he got out of the military. He flew for the sheriff's department and all that, but then he flew for the last job he had was mosquito abatement district. And
now y'all know why he's crazy.
That's right. This dude would fly treetop level in a plane at night. I mean,
you had to be crazy to do that.
He was
right.
And he only retired about 3 years ago. So when he was making videos, he was still flying.
Now, when I was a kid, those mosquito trucks, they put out that real thick white fog. And we'd hear them coming, and we'd go jump on our bicycles, and we would chase the mosquito truck.
That's
right in that fog.
What's wrong. That's what's wrong with you.
Yeah, that's why your hair come out.
I don't think I have any issues from it.
Hey, let me ask you a question, Philip. Before that, when you're riding your bike behind it, did you have a full head of hair then?
I did.
What's up, Big Mike?
I sure did. Yeah, Joey rode behind it too.
Yeah, Joey did. He must have got.
Hey, Big Mike.
Intact.
How's it going?
I got one more thing I want to show y'all right quick. Back when live first started, I was talking about all these bees trying to do all this robbing and everything. Lee's got a robbing video that I think Mike had videoed this. Go ahead, Lee. You can bring it up whenever you want to. He's got him a screen on there. Y'all see those bees dropping to the ground? Every now and then you'll see occasional bees in your own yard hitting the ground like that. Somebody trying to sneak in.
Mm-hmm.
When they start robbing, it gets heavier and heavier.
Whose video is that, Joey?
Michael, I don't forgot his last name. I got it right here somewhere. I had his last name. Michael Seeley.
Seeley.
Yeah, Seeley. That's him. Appreciate the video. But yeah, I've never seen so many different hives in like this trying to rob like that. The hives are keeping them down, but I've never seen so many bees trying to get in other hives like this year.
Is your temperatures warmer than what they have been in the past?
Probably so. We hadn't really had any real cold weather. Been kind of warm.
Yeah.
I had one. I had a dead out the other day. It was 2 days ago. I had a dead out 3 days ago, and I was finishing doing some hives. I looked over and seen bees around, and I said, "Man, they're being robbed." And they were just residual. And I went in. It was dead out. Well, there were some bees left over in it, so I took around and put them in a nuke and threw them off to the side just so I can combine them later. Put them like 2 stands over. Went out this morning. They were being robbed again. They were just robbing just as fast as you can. Like if they're weak, they're going to get them.
Yeah.
But we're dead on it. We don't have anything coming in at all. So.
Hey, Mike. So that situation that you were talking about earlier, where you got your bees sprayed. What was that about? What was that like exactly?
Oh man, that was awful, man. You talking about me?
Yeah.
That was a few years ago. I was cutting grass. I had like 25 hives at the time, and I went up to them and I noticed I was, when I come by with the mower, I always look at them, and I'm going by and I'm looking and nobody's flying, and I see one with dead bees hanging out. And this was right after honey harvest, and so I got off the mower and started opening them up one by one, and every single one of them had about 3. And these were strong hives. I mean, literally just off honey flow, just super. And they were 3 to 4 inches deep in bees on the bottom boards. They died. I just put, like I said, just pulled the supers. They died so fast that they piled up on those boards. They couldn't even get out. Like the few live bees that were left were on top of the dead ones. And so I went hive to hive to hive, and it didn't matter if it was screen bottom, didn't matter if the entrance was reduced, it didn't matter if the only ones that really lived there was 1 or 2 in the middle of all my stands, and then the ones on the very ends of each end of the yard. Those are the only ones that lived. So like, I don't know, 18, 20 hives were killed out of all of them. And so then you don't know what's in there. And so for that to happen, like, so everybody that I talked to had their answer. And it would be amazed at the amount of people I was still pretty new. So the people that, it's a virus. No, it's not a virus. They don't die overnight that quick, and they don't die that fast on top. It just where they can't even start hauling the dead out. And then that's when I called the apiary inspector. I said, "This is a poison." And he goes, "Absolutely, it's a poison." And they had sprayed some power lines down my right of way, but the Guard Star 4 is what they used. No, not Guard Star. Guard Stars for the beetles. Something 4. It's made by DuPont, and it's supposed to be good. The only thing it's supposed to harm is marine life. It's not supposed to be sprayed near any ponds. But the surfactant in the herbicide, they're kind of wondering whether that was it. But in the end, it looked malicious to me. And they did have a kid that would run around here and just do stuff to people. He used to cut through my yard on his 4-wheeler, and I told him quit cutting through. Mm-hmm. And I'm not so sure. He would go burn people's tree stands when he get caught on the hunting club's property, things like that. So we kind of think it might have been him, because whatever it was, it's like it was so strong, so fast, it killed him so quick. It couldn't have been something they went out, got, and brought in. Not all those hives. I have my buddy Kenny over here. He was blown away. I got pictures of it somewhere. I'd have to pull them up. It was like nothing I've ever seen before. And man, you talk about thinking you're going to throw in the towel, because now you don't know whether I cleaned. I bleach watered all those boxes, and look, I'm gonna tell you now. Look at my videos. If you ever see a frame that's got a red dot on it, that's one of those frames that went through that poison. Because I kept about 200 frames. I lost about 300 or so, and I kept about 200, 150, and they got red dots on them because I wanted to see if it harmed any of the hives. It was awful. It was like nothing I've ever experienced and don't ever want to experience again.
Sounds expensive is what it sounds like.
It was, because that's all, you don't know if those frames are any good. So I took 200 of them and I washed them all. And I probably threw away 150 frames, and I just washed them all really good and bleach watered them really good. Because, pesticides and all that, I forget their life, the life of them all. It's not that long. So I bleach watered everything and tried to clean it all. But time wise, man, I spent the entire end of summer and winter cleaning all that up. And that's when I was like, do I really want to do this? I was frustrated. It was heartbreaking, man, to lose that much money. I estimated the honey and the hives I lost was probably around $8,000 to $10,000.
Oh, wow.
If you replaced it.
Yeah.
In the sheriff's department, they didn't want to he wouldn't even come out. Well, give me the information on the phone. Oh, you lost bees. What's the deal? And I'm like, well, if I lost a cow, if I had 3 or 4 dairy cows just got shot, I guarantee you'd come out here then. I said, and I told him, I said, this is about an $8,000 to $10,000 loss.
Yeah.
He just wrote it on a report and said, yeah, call us if you need anything. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
It was definitely malicious. So I'm almost positive. I mean, just the way it's like they came through and they started a sprayer and then went all the way down the hives and then stopped. And they missed the last couple hives on each end. May have missed one in the middle between stands.
I had some poisoned one time, and it wasn't intentional. And we figured out what happened after the fact. I had 5 hives over at my buddy, what I call my Reagan yard, and 4 of those 5 hives were dead when I came over there. 2 weeks prior, they were good and healthy, and they were dead. The one on the end survived it for whatever reason. But all those bees were piled up on the bottom of the bed and the floor. And actually it was Jennifer Brown said that they were probably sick trying to get out, and they all plugged the door up and couldn't get out because of that poison. And what we found out what happened, the landowner next to the Reagan, the guy, my buddy Reagan, had just bought that property. When those yellow flowers started coming up in the spring, he didn't want to cut them down. He wanted to kill them.
Yep. And
he sprayed those fields. But not only does it have pretty yellow flowers in there, it's got clover in there. And
that dockweed, them farmers spray it. Yeah. It's a herbicide, of course, because obviously it's not a pesticide. But I know this when I was on a frame, they started spraying dockweed, and I started losing queens in that yard. Yeah. Like all my hives had queen issues all through the early spring, and that's when the farmer where I had him, the dairy farmer, he was spraying his dockweed.
Yeah. So the guy that we ordered nukes from this early spring, guy down in Georgia, South Georgia, as a matter of fact, a little bit east of Valdosta down there, he had 275 nukes of ours, and it was probably about 2 weeks before delivery, maybe 3 weeks before delivery. He calls me, and it was kind of interesting. He's a good guy. He asked me, he said, "Hey Tom, how's your day going?" And I said, "Well," the guys haven't tore up any equipment. I haven't gotten any complaints, so I probably made a $1 bill. I'm not going to complain. And he's like, "Well," he goes, "I'm fixing to change your day."
Yeah.
And I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, just shoot it to me straight. What's the problem?
Well, and he already paid for all these nukes, 75%.
Yeah, all the nukes were already paid for 100%. And he's like, "Well, I'm fixing to change your day here." And I'm like, "Okay, well, shoot it me straight. What's the problem?" And he says, "All the nukes that I had down there for you that I was growing," he said, "Yeah." He goes, "They've been sprayed." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "To what extent? What does that look like mean?" He's like, "They're dead." And I'm like, "Well, that's a problem." And I could tell he was pretty upset by it, pretty genuine. I don't think there was any weirdness going on there, but he was genuinely pretty upset by it. It's like I could tell and hear it in his voice and what he was saying. But anyway, and I'm like, okay. He goes, well, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to send you your check back. And I told him, I said, I don't want the money back. I said, I can't go to however many people and give them their money back. That ain't what they want, and that's not what they ordered. And I said, I need a solution. And I said, I'm not going to go back to my club with a problem without an answer. So you and I better start to figure this thing out real quick, you know? And anyway, long story short, he wasn't able to help me out, basically. So I actually got on the phone with a lot of contacts that I have. So, you know, JW pokes at me for politicking, but I'll tell you what, in that instance, you know, it paid off. Having good people and doing good business with people, it paid off tremendously. And I was able to locate what we needed and get it covered within 2 weeks. It cost us a little bit of money, but nothing substantial. And we were able to make it happen and come up with a pretty good product. But, you know, I asked him a little bit about that whole spray situation. We were talking about it, and he said that he lost 60 of his production colonies out of that same yard. So he lost nearly 300 nukes and 60 production colonies. So he lost a lot of money that day. And I asked him, I said, well, you have insurance for that? And he said, well, I do have insurance, but they don't cover spray loss. He said, they'll cover a lot of things, but they don't cover that. And I'm like, well, that's definitely a problem. So all in all, I asked him, I said, do you have an idea of the source? And he said, yeah, I do. And I'm like, what do you do now? You go after him or what? And he's like, well, here's the thing about that, Tom. He said, you know, I could. And he goes, I don't think it was a malicious intent. He goes, but, you know, he said, probably what the inspector told me, he's like, yeah, I can file a report and we can go check the situation out and what have you. He goes, you're probably not going to win on this situation. He said, because I think he keeps bees there often. He said, if you make this guy pay out however many thousands of dollars on this, he goes, he's not going to forget it. And he goes, you probably have more problems down the road. And he's like, if I were you, he goes, I just let it go. And I'm like, wow. You know, I'm like that for me, unfortunately, that wouldn't be an acceptable answer, but you know, maybe it is the right answer. I don't know. But anyway, you know, things like that do happen from time to time. We may not hear about it and we may not understand it and think that it just doesn't exist. But unfortunately, you know, this country sprays a lot of herbicides and they spray a lot of pesticides, and whether you agree it's rightfully so or not, I mean, we all have to eat, and you know, I mean, that's the way our farming practices are nowadays, and you know, it can be a real thing.
I do have to add though, the guy that we got the bees from, he fully refunded us in the club, and he also made a donation to help cover the additional cost that we were going to have to incur for paying more for nukes that we were going to have to order.
Yeah, he did. He made it right with the club. I mean, I still lost money myself, but I wasn't much concerned about it. And he made it right with our club. So he left a pretty sizable donation to it, which was very nice. So, but things happen.
Well, Big Mike, what you up to, buddy?
Well, I'm trying to get things wrapped up. It's getting cold up here.
That's going to ask him how cold it was.
I think it was 26 this morning.
Oh my God.
Oh,
It's all right. I'm still sleeping with the window open, Mike.
I was throwing a long sleeve shirt on at 58 this morning.
yeah.
I've been wearing a t-shirt all day.
I got cold at a ball game last night and it was in the upper 50s.
We ain't far from the cold here. Finally, if we ever get there,
yeah,
it's not. We got a cold front coming, but it's not a hard one. So no freezes yet. We get those freezes. I like to get those freezes. I like to get a bunch of them too, because I really feel like we have such a better spring. And I remember there was a winter where we stayed cold. You know, our cold, but we stayed cold and had, you know, numerous freezes at night. My bees always just seem to do better because they stay in their cluster longer. They stay not flying as much. And it just seems like it resets spring really good with all the plants. Like everything just gets burned down so that it comes back stronger. That's just how I feel. I don't know if that's really scientifically correct, but it sure feels like that.
It was nice when we went out and fed bees the other day, and we're sprinkling some super DFM plus on them also. And it was so cold that the bees weren't breaking cluster. So when we were popping those feeders out, because we used hive top feeders, we were popping those feeders off to sprinkle the stuff on there. They weren't flying up in your face.
They were a little bit.
Yeah, but not like a bunch of them. Maybe 1 or 2 hives did, but it made it, the cooler weather made it for fast going through everything and getting it done.
Yeah, it's a break for
Well,
us.
I did
too,
another
though,
stupid thing today. I did another stupid thing today. I went out to my prison yard and I was weighing all the hives. One of them had less traffic than all the rest of them. I said, let me look up in there. I usually look up under the bottom if it's a screen bottom. I seen a few bees running around. I said, I still don't feel satisfied. I didn't have a hive tool. Went and got a screwdriver out of the truck, popped that lid, and about 99 hive beetles started running everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I just turned 99 hive beetles loose. From that, had a lot of bees in it. They were all up top.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that was stupid. I knew better. I said, I was kicking myself all the way back home. Now they got to work 2 days trying to get all them hive beetles proud back up.
Well, I go to them once. I break them loose because I'm putting super DFM on like y'all are every month.
Yeah.
Shoot, I only had about 3 out of 40 that I looked at, 3 that had numerous hive beetles, and I put those little traps that I previewed on my video. Those are neat little traps. I just stuck them in there and said, you know what, corral them back up, ladies. And
yeah, that's what I told them. I shut.
They don't have anything else better to do this time of year. They might as well chase hive beetles.
That's exactly right.
Now, this was in a yard where I never have a hive beetle problem. You remember, Mike, me talking about that prison yard? I've never had real issues with hive beetles out there. They out there this year. I have never seen so many hive beetles in my life.
I've seen more hive beetles in all of our hives this year than I've ever seen before.
Yeah, it's been different this year for some reason.
I've seen 3. And they were in a package someone got.
Yeah, I was going to say, they probably came in the mail.
now, we haven't had hive beetles as bad as that Bruce Jenny video, but I think he did that like this spring or whatever, where there's just like thousands and thousands of hive beetles. But
yeah,
they're definitely more than I've ever seen this year.
Well, they'll go only so far. That is one good thing about those things is y'all further up north don't have to sweat them because, well, everybody here except for Mike is from the south, but the guys up north don't have to. They can only, even if they do get up there, they won't make the winter. So that's the good thing. They won't make the winter.
You guys usually send us up a new batch every year.
Well, I try. I send a few of my extra.
How many you want?
Just come up.
But they can't pupate in the ground if they're over winter. I mean, the winter just.
No, I don't think they do very well up here.
No, they won't make it.
But y'all, me and Mike was talking about this the other day. I can have 2 colonies in the same bee yard, right beside each other, almost the same strengths, almost the same amount of frames full of bees and everything, the same weight. You can crack one open and maybe see 3 or 4 hive beetles, and you crack another one open and see 20 to 40.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be. I want to find somebody that's researching these things and come do a talk somewhere, because there's got to be a trait in these bees that allow those little critters to even get in the hive.
I got a hive like that.
If you got 2 hives right there by each other, how come one hadn't let anybody hardly in, and another one has let everybody in, and then you're corralling them up somewhere?
I got them one where it just stayed with beetles.
Trait.
As long as it lived, it had beetles in it. No matter what I did, it always had beetles. Yeah. And the whole rest of the stand didn't have beetles. And that hive just it existed with beetles for probably 5 or 6 years. And then it kept getting splits and stuff. But whatever genetic queen they were raising, when I was doing walkaways, they were raising. Yeah. I don't know. They tolerated them.
It's not like the hive beetle is actually interfering with them. They're still doing good.
Yep.
And they just let them in and then push them up, where some don't let them in at all, evidently. That's all I can figure out.
Up until they didn't requeen one year, then they were gone. Boy, them once they weakened down, them beetles took them over once they got a little weak.
That girl that works with Audrey Sheridan, she works with Jeff. What's his name? Jeff, we go listen to all the time, Mike. Harris. Jeff Harris.
Yeah, Dr. Harris, yeah.
She did some research. That's kind of how she got into beekeeping. She did research on the hive beetle, and it got her interested in beekeeping. That's why she's a beekeeper now. I have been wanting to get her at our club and had her scheduled to come when COVID hit. We need to probably get her back and do that little talk of hers on hive beetles. Everybody freeze up?
Nope.
Yep. No. Hey, Joey, I'm wondering if those hives that have those beetles pushed up, maybe they're managing them. Maybe there's more hive beetles than the others. They just don't push them up as much.
Some push them up. I do know this. Some push them up and some push them down. Because I used to tell people, if you don't see them on the lid, if you go down to the bottom, you'll find them down there. You do see that sometimes.
Yeah, but because I've noticed some of mine that have more hive beetles seem to be the stronger colony, so they have they're pushing more of them up. Seems like.
You know, it's funny.
And
Roy
also corralling.
If you look at Roy's comment, he said, "If we get hive beetles in Michigan, I'll quit." You know, I was thinking about something today about just hive health and looking at my hives and having that dead out the other day. I think it was a swarmed out colony is what happened to it. It swarmed out after it was a late swarm for whatever reason. And you know, I got to thinking about how we're fighting these pests and it's like, man, sometimes you just have terrible losses, sometimes you don't. And I wonder, man, how long do I want to keep fighting this? And here we have another mite in the next 2 to 3 years. They're talking about making it here, and people are expanding. People are getting more bees. We're trying to get bigger businesses or whatever. It's like, man, we're looking at a storm coming, and we're building in front of it. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's you know, that what he says. I mean, I know he's saying that kind of in jest in a way, but shoot, man, sometimes you just get tired. You get tired of monitoring mites and wondering how many beetles were in there and what have I done? Have I done enough? You know, it's just, I don't know.
Ooh, look at this. I ordered some new pans for making wax blocks for honey shows.
You got hooked. You got a few ribbons and you are hooked now, huh?
Look at that.
I'm telling you,
Hey, Mike, crazy. She got the taste of blood there, buddy.
Nice.
Hey, where did you?
It's blood and water.
Where did you get those?
Amazon.
Amazon.
So, yeah, pans are really hard to find for making wax blocks because a lot of them have embossing in the bottom.
Yep.
And so that ends up on your wax. So.
And you got to have metal because silicone silicone makes they don't make straight edges. It traps in silicone.
So I ordered 2 different brands off Amazon because you can't really tell on the picture on Amazon like if sometimes there's ridges in the corners too. So these corners are really smooth and there's no indentions or anything. So
you created a monster there, Tom.
Here, Nobby, here I come.
She's gonna bake me a cake in him first.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, she is.
No.
She's going to.
Send me a link on those pans.
Wait, well, let me think about that. Are you going to enter the honey competition? Are you going to enter the honey show in Nobby?
Nope.
Hey, Joey, I'll send it to you, buddy. Don't worry. I got you covered.
I use those little silicone ones just to make easy blocks. But if you're in the contest, you can't use those because they bulge out and the bottoms get warped. But the little silicone ones are great for making just.
So when I'm making my just for storage, when I'm cleaning my wax, I just use little bread pans that I've just had forever, and I mean they're dedicated honey pans now, but
right.
because you can't use those either because the bottoms of them are kind of curved, kind of go down and up, how loaf pans do. So yeah, finding a nice pan that is flat bottom with no ridges or anything is hard to do.
Yeah, I got to start running my wax. I really needed one of those wax spinners, but man, they're just so expensive. It's just not worth the money to me. I don't think I'll get enough money to pay for it. But there is.
I think Brian ordered one to pick up at Nobby this year, didn't you, Brian?
Well, we're going to be seeing a new one come out pretty soon, and I'm waiting for that one. It's going to be cheaper.
I wonder who that's coming from.
I'm not going to say.
You're not going to say.
If you can't figure that out after knowing what I
yeah, Mike might have the inside track on all that new innovation.
Hey, are you gonna come to the EMBA workshop with that particular company maybe in February?
I don't know. No, probably not. The only time he's used me is when he's been short. He was doing 4 shows at that last one. That's why I went. And I actually got invited to work the expo, but I don't know. That's my time to kind of get around and meet everybody. So see some lectures
Well, you should see if he's going to be short-staffed around February the 8th.
That's right. That's right.
Maybe I just come just so I can see y'all.
Mike just puts his wife to work.
What's that?
No, yeah, she's actually going to help Randy again this year, Philip. Sure is. And that's another thing. If she's going to be,
I didn't even know who that was until you told me. I was like,
yeah. And then you gave her those nice earrings, so because I forget who didn't show up.
Hey Joey, can I send you that link to that dinner that we're gonna do on Wednesday before Nobby to post on here if anybody wants to sign up for that?
Yeah, Mike, we got another opportunity for you. Are you coming into Nobby on Wednesday, which is New Year's Day?
Good night, Lee. Appreciate it.
Yes, but it's gonna be late. I'm gonna be in Florida eating my New Year's dinner, so I'll be getting in way late.
Like after 9 late?
Oh yeah. Probably more like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna be in bed by then. Well, either that or me and JW are gonna be out partying for a while.
We're gonna charge you for advertising. Is what we're gonna do. Joey, get out there. Tell him what our rates are.
JW, could I borrow some money?
Promoting that. They broke me. I got robbed this week. Remember?
What if I give you a loan and then you borrow it to me, and then we'll do that.
That'll work.
Okay. I'm easy.
I must be too. They got me.
Yeah. Well, luckily
who got you, JW? I missed that.
They robbed my little farm market out there. They didn't rob it. It was a theft.
No way.
Yeah. They took about.
It was a what?
It wasn't a major deal. They took about 10 pounds of honey. What aggravated me is it was on an honor system. I just kept change. I keep $50 in 1s and 5s out there to make change for folks to make change with, and a 3-pound coffee can. They took my change.
Hey, we don't know who could have gotten you this honey.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't tell them.
No.
I was just talking about one of those today. I'd love to put one out, but there's no way. Out here where I'm at, shoot, it wouldn't last 2 days. They take everything.
Well, yeah. Mike, I've had good luck, and I went right back at it. I had a camera out there that I've got connected to a phone source, so I had just taken it down, but I decided to put it back up. I got to lead the description on the vehicle and so forth, but it was they come from the next county over, and I don't know whether the sheriff department in the next county will do anything or not. So
yeah, if I could find me a neighborhood to do it, I think it'd be all right. But it's a shame it's like that. I know a man down there in Livingston's got a little produce stand, and every now and then he gets robbed. And it's just like, man, come on, guys.
Well, that's nice.
Heck yeah.
That's cool. Where'd you get that, Joey?
It was posted on the No Life Beekeeper chat on Facebook.
It's on Zazzle.com.
Okay.
I just ordered mine.
That's
They
cool.
got several choices, I think, don't he? I wanted the hoodie.
Yeah. And you can actually get it put on like a bunch of different items too. It doesn't just have to be on a hoodie.
Yeah. Yeah, he posted on the No Life Beekeepers Facebook page or group.
Hey, Phil did, or did he order some, or who got them? Melissa, you know.
What's that?
You.
What?
I said who's got them? Phil Kent, or who?
Yeah, I think it was Westcliff.
Oh, out in
Colorado. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got you. I see it there now. Brian put it on there. John West. Yeah.
Mike, what do you do for a living?
I work. I work for Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development.
He's a state worker now.
I am. I work for DOTD. I'm a construction inspector.
I did that for 27 years.
I work with these contractors. I'm building bridges, building roads, and I'm checking all their density, their structural, their asphalt. I'm making sure they're doing specs. I pay them, make sure they're putting down what they say they're putting down. So whenever a contractor's working, I got to work. And that started about 2 years ago. And that's why this year, if you ever watch much of my videos about being busy, I had a guy tell me, he told me, because I went to the Louisiana show, I did that video, goes, that's why you never caught up. You go into shows on the weekends. I felt like saying, man, oh boy, it made me mad when he said that. I don't know if it's somebody messing with me or somebody being serious, but I'm like, you have no clue what I do for a living. So I can get out there and be on a job on 410s and have no time at home to do anything. And then I turn around and have Saturday, and then I'm back working again. And, so it's a hectic job, and it really took a toll on my beekeeping this year.
Yeah.
Joey, I just shared that. That was me.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that. Now, if I was in my 30s and I was starting a new career, it'd be great because it's something new to learn. I've never done road construction. I've never built bridges and anything like that. That'd be fun, but it's not fun at my age. Learning something new and being busy, and I don't like it that much. But I'm grateful to have a job, so I'm not gonna complain.
Yeah, I was a state worker for 27 years and 2 months. I got a lot of jokes about state workers.
Hey,
there's an oxymoron in it, Joey. A state worker.
Yeah.
That's kind of like military intelligence,
Yeah, I was going deer hunting with a guy one time. It was still dark. We was all around the fire, and a new guy had come in, and he worked for the state of Louisiana, and we were trying to pick at him about being a state worker, not doing anything and all, And his comeback was, he said, well, we went on the job one time, and there was 10 of us went out there on the job, and we called the supervisor when we got there and told him we'd forgot shovels. When you come out here, bring us some shovels. And the boss said, don't worry about it. Y'all just lean on each other till I get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, look, I worked for the state before this. This isn't my first state gig. I worked 5 and 6 years cutting grass at the university for the state.
Yeah.
I left the oil and gas industry. I left a mega paying job for minimum wage to be a state worker because I was tired of the stress. And so for 6 years, 6 summers, I cut grass and did landscaping at the university. And I worked my way up, made a little extra money here and there. But you talk about, I wanted something where I didn't have to think. And that was I had to get out of that heat filing because it was just getting to be too much. But I tell you what, I had a lot of time for beekeeping. That's where my videos all kind of started, because that job, now we worked pretty good, but I could get time off. If I had my grass done, I'd take time off my Fridays. I always had my weekends, work 410s in the summer. That was great.
Yeah, you knew when you were going to be home.
Yeah, but this one here, if a contractor, like we're supposed to be doing a lane shift tomorrow night, we got to do a lane shift to move a lane over so we can build the other half of the bridge. And so that's a 2-night job, you know. And it's like you got to be there for the contractor.
That's what I told these guys. Look, I was the maintenance director, and I had a good carpenter on my crew, and I had a good assistant manager, and I had a good HVAC guy. And when I retired, my assistant manager moved up. I told him, I said, you ain't gonna have time for nothing else. In about 6 months, he retired. He said, I've had enough of this pressure. He retired. The HVAC guy moved up in that job. In about 6 months, he had to have 4 bypasses. So he retired. Then the carpenter moved up. He used to do side work for me here at my house, an ace carpenter. I told him, I said, if you take that job, you ain't going to have time to do this. Because he used to tell me working on the side, little chores like he worked for me, he helped me do this honey house. And he said, yeah, he said, I probably won't. Last time I talked to him, he said, I hadn't been able to do anything on the side. He said, they keep me busy. I said, that takes your life away from you. That's why I lived out there. But everybody just moved up in that job I had. I told them, I said, you ain't going to have no life. It's going to take every minute you got. But anyway, I've been in enough for that. Let's talk about beekeeping.
All right, I'm going to interrupt for a second to make an announcement. No.
Uh-oh.
So this link that I posted under Joey's name, I pretended to be Joey, is for the Navi No Life dinner. It's on Wednesday night. It's free to come. It's at Craft House Pizza, but if you want to come, you need to have a ticket because there's only so many seats available. So it's free to sign up. You need to sign up so that we can have a head count, basically, is what it is.
You said that's Wednesday night?
Wednesday night, yep. 6 to 9.
All right.
And then the other link that I shared here is for the sweatshirt that Joey held up. You can get that on a sweatshirt. They have a bunch of, I think Westcliff made that up, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And you can get that logo or that artwork that he did on bags, sweatshirts, hoodies, all kinds of different things. But that's the
I think
link.
He might have had T-shirts too. I'm not sure.
What's that?
I think he may have had T-shirts too, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think Zazzle is a site where you can just take his design and put it on whatever piece of merchandise you want. So yeah, so that's the link to that.
Appreciate that.
So
That first one.
Yeah.
If y'all are through talking about that, I was going to just offer up something that this is not a how-to description here. I want you guys to know, and it's not even how I do, but it's how I'm intending to do. But talking about those little honey cabinets or whatever, it's been at least 6 months or more. I bought this is a lock, and it's a keypad controller. I got it off of Amazon, probably like $30 or something. I don't remember. But you build a cabinet, and this will you can program it with a code. And then my intention eventually is to build a little honey store that I put outside my front door here, and then put instructions. If someone wants honey, they text me, and then I'll, if once I get their Zelle or however their payment is, I'll text them the code, and then they can open the cabinet and get their honey out. But anyway, that's an idea that I hadn't fully executed on, but it requires a little bit of effort.
Something to keep them locked out. Of course, down here where I'm at, they probably take it out the post out the ground and take the whole box if they know there's money in it.
I would love to have a courtesy a self-serve box if we had somewhere decent to put it. It just wouldn't get it. Like, there's nowhere nobody that we necessarily know that I'd want to ask anyway to put a self-serve box at the edge of their driveway.
Yeah, mine will probably also be in conjunction with some kind of a camera too. Like next Nest camera or whatever
Yeah.
by the front door. So,
What I thought would be really cool is if you
Honey.
could get like a soda
Honey
vending
sheet.
machine and turn it into a honey vending machine.
Yeah.
And, you put it in and the honey drops. You can only use plastic, obviously.
Well, you could use glass, but you wouldn't get any return customers.
Right. Well, what I'll send you,
Right,
Melissa. I'll send you the video of the guy hooking the chain to the ATM and snatching it out of the wall of the Jiffy store. So they probably load it up and take it.
Yeah.
But
But
that's actually a good
that would be
idea.
cool.
That's a real
Do
good
like
idea.
a honey vending machine.
Yeah.
Because there
I
are.
thought about this when Mike was talking about the guy that
That'd be a
used
good
to be our apiarist. He had, where did he live at, Mike? Didn't he live near Baton Rouge somewhere?
Yeah, over in Baton Rouge.
Yeah. He had what's the word I'm looking for? Crap, I done lost it. But he had a little thing set up where people could buy his honey and everything right there near or in Baton Rouge. Said he never had issues with anybody taking anything that didn't belong to him.
Out here in Laronja, they're gonna take something. They just are.
That's the way Pine is out here too. They'll take the little shed you build it in if you.
Mm-hmm.
I've still got faith in humanity, fellas. I went back to doing business the same way I was before. Only, most people are good. I feel like. So I don't.
Kiosk. That's the word I was looking for. He had a kiosk.
That's fine too. So
I think so, JW. That's something I think we forget some days. We look at everything going on. I think we see so much news and all that garbage now, but we do forget there's still plenty of good people in the world. There really are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
that's what.
Well, there's 7 of us here, right here.
There you go.
That's what I.
Well, I don't know about that guy.
I think he's okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Thanks, Big Mike.
as long as he's got proper supervision, he's pretty good.
Just keep that leash tight on him.
Hey.
How about this? Does that work?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. He ain't short on conversation. That boy's not short on.
I was listening the night you said he was like the Energizer Bunny. The more he talked, the more power he had.
Well, I think I made the analogy before. He's it's like an alternator,
Yeah. It was something, but I was
He
laughing.
needs to run to charge.
You know how those diesels will get away sometimes, run away.
That's a good one,
If
Joey.
he starts whistling, we have a problem.
See what you started, JW?
Yeah.
See that?
Hey, GW, were you going to ask something about the Navi dinner thing?
You don't want to know what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yes, I did.
You were going to ask if we were going to bring you some bourbon honey, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know that for a fact.
Yeah, he loves that bourbon honey, don't he?
That's going to be his Christmas present.
A whole gallon.
A whole gallon.
Yeah. I tried some of that meat again this morning. My son had, and that's still not, it hadn't got any better since days ago.
I just don't think I could like meat. I don't know.
Oh, I love it. Man, I like that stuff.
It's just
I'd rather drink that than just about
really
anything.
sweet for me to like it.
Y'all, I don't know if Greg Dunn is still on here. My wife has got into making this drink.
Kombucha.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, the kombucha?
That's it.
Kombucha.
She's making, yeah. She's drinking it now. She done bought and I deducted it off of my honey shed because it all had something to do with honey. So I said, give me that receipt.
Now, isn't that like fermented though? Kombucha is like a fermented drink, right?
Yeah.
So is she like fermenting the honey to make the kombucha, or is the honey already?
The recipe calls for honey and another sweetener, I think. I don't think it's just pure honey. You may could use either one. But
Well, get it. Have her, if she wants to make a spicy kombucha, have her get in contact with Brian. He's got that fermented hot honey that he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big thing now is the whole garlic with the honey. Everybody packs the jars with garlic and lets the garlic ferment in the honey.
Yeah.
Nowadays, supposedly that's supposed to be real good. That and ginger.
Yeah.
But everybody, the fermenting craze kind of died down a little bit, but it's still a decent size. It's a decent amount of people talking about it.
Yeah.
That it's fermented, but it's not alcohol. Basically.
Yeah, that's how that garlic is. It's not. It
Yeah.
doesn't turn to alcohol. It's just. But it's supposed to be real good for you.
You actually drink it before it gets to that point, I guess.
No, she drinks it before it gets to that point.
Yeah, that's what my wife does. But she just started making it. She'd been getting it from a girl at church, but she's a firm believer in it. But it's got. It was almost when she was talking about it, Mike. It almost sounded like she was talking about feeding honeybees with these microbes and all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a lot of probiotics in that.
Yeah.
Exactly. The probiotics thing is just good gut health.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian's
I'm a good one. I got to roll.
Where you going?
I'm going to bed.
We got a meeting this week, don't we, Mike?
I think so.
Yeah, Thursday night.
So. I got to check, but I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna get on the bed here in a little bit. Got a busy day tomorrow for church, so
take it easy, Mike.
Good night, Mike.
Hey, appreciate y'all having me.
See you.
Yeah.
Good evening. Now Rodney's on the right track for me. I like that sassafras tea, but
yeah, I do too. I never make it, but when I go get in the line and get me some of it every time we have a fair here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they got
we've got a lot of sassafras trees around here. I go out and dig up the roots and boil them, make my own.
I don't think I could identify a sassafras tree. I always found them after I cut them down.
Yeah.
When I cut that root, I can smell them, and I go grabbing that root.
There's two different. There's a yellow. There's a root that makes a yellow lighter tea, and there's a root that makes a real dark, almost blackberry colored tea. And that's the one that's the good one.
Well, last year I kind of got on to the people. I said, y'all got this stuff watered down too much. Yeah. They said, well, it ain't watered down. It's just probably the way the person that made this batch made it. I said, okay, that's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got in line and got some this year, and it was almost like opening up a bottle of root beer.
Yeah,
it was good.
They actually there for a while. Our local area Walmart's had a sassafras extract that you could in a little old bottle. You could buy that, but the last 2 or 3 times I've looked for it, I haven't been able to find it. So that's one of my favorites. They say that it's hard on your heart, but I don't have a heart, so it'll make a difference.
I had never heard that.
That's good.
Don't let him lie to you. He's a teddy bear.
There's Grammy. She's going in there.
Well, I just saw that post, Grammy. That's one of the things that the girl that was telling her how to make it. Don't put a lid on it, just cover it. So I actually give her, I don't know if y'all can see it over there. I got a box full of those bucket strainers. I gave her one of them to rubber band over for a lid.
Oh, yeah.
Where
That'd
it
be
could
good.
breathe.
I've had a watermelon explode in the kitchen. That's a mess.
What?
I mean, you talk about explosion every now and then. My wife explodes in the kitchen. You talk about really.
Hey, that's funny you say that. I probably listen. I'm gonna tell you guys quietly, okay? Every time Melissa cooks in the kitchen, it looks like something exploded in there.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Melissa's a good cook, though.
When I walk through there and dip my finger in the middle of a, chocolate pie or something, there's usually a little explosion in my.
Yep. Can't help yourself, right?
Anybody know that question? Answer?
No clue.
No,
I wouldn't even know.
I wouldn't think so. would ever, garlic and honey would ever go bad, but I don't know that for a fact. I've never made any, but I'd say no, Brian, offhand.
If I had it, it probably wouldn't go bad. I'd be used it up.
Hi, Charlie.
Hey,
What's up, Charlie?
hey,
What a mess, Grammy.
I feel your pain, Rodney. You got seven. I got 7 grand youngins.
Yeah, that.
Oh, and I can take any one of them all day, but I can't take all of them in one day.
So my parents had 3 girls, myself and then my 2 sisters. And then between the 3 of us, we have
They're all
3, 4,
brats
5,
too.
6, 7, 8 grandchildren. Only one of them is a girl. All the other 7 are boys. And they've had all 7 of those boys. You know, we have the big kids. So our kids are 22 and the boys are 18. They have the little kids. The oldest one out of them is 11 and the youngest one is 2. And they'll take all of those little ones at the same time all weekend long. I don't know how they do it.
You just reminded me. Both my grandkids' schools played their last games last night, and they won their games, so they're all going into playoffs.
Oh, cool! Congratulations to them, boy.
Actually, last night the one here at Pine was a playoff game, and the one at Bowling Green in Franklinton was a playoff game. But it's the last home games either way, so they'll both be going into the playoffs.
And that's football, right?
Yeah.
See, all your down south, all your kids play football. Up here, all my nephews, they all play hockey.
Yeah.
Well, football is equally as big up here, though.
Yeah, but they're just all hockey players.
I don't have the ability to post a picture. I'm just going to show y'all this. This is my grandson. He plays almost every play.
Yeah.
Offense and defense. You can see how much bigger he is than me.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
He's taller than me, and he probably weighs as much or more than me.
And probably eats 3 times as much as you, right?
Yeah. Now I want you to get that picture in your head, how big he looks upside me as far as muscle or whatever. I'm going to find another picture, and I'll show you what he looks like to some of his friends in the team. Y'all carry on. I'll get them in a minute. Go ahead. Carry on with what you're talking about. Because I don't have that saved. I had to go find it. I'll keep talking. What you been up to, Charlie?
well, I went out and I vaporized all my hives today and cleaned all the Coroplast sticky boards, I guess you'd call them, before I did all that. Got that done, I guess you might say the second round. So I was checking emails. I'd been listening to you a little bit, and I got my results back from the National Honeybee Survey report. So the biggest one that I'm always looking for is Varroamite loads. And they sampled 984 bees, found 35 mites. So my mites per 100 bees is a 3.6. The average is 2.3. So I don't, it's got a scale here with a pointer on it. I don't really quite understand that, what that is telling me. And Nosema is like a 0.1. And that's pretty much it. Everything else, all these other, like, acute bee paralysis, and it wasn't detected, and things of that nature. But for me, what's interesting is she did that on the 6 weeks of April bar. 3 years ago, she did it after I did Apivar and Formic Pro, and I was a 0.2. So that tells me that Apivar is just not doing the trick. And we actually seen visible evidence of that too.
Well, that's what I've been hearing about Apivar for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I was like wanting her to come after the Formic treatment, but then I got to thinking, well, this will be a good indicator on what the Apivar does as far as, the rate of kill on that. And then we just had the other guy, and it just from what his presentation was at my local bee club, who he'll also be at Nobby. Sound like to me you might as well just hang it up on Apivar and all that.
Y'all remember my grandson's number was 51?
Yep.
I couldn't find the picture of the whole team, but that's what some of the other team looks like right there.
Yeah, number 13's a big old boy.
He is a monster. I look way up to him when I walk by him. Just as humble a kid as he can be.
That's good.
And that number 64, he's tough. He's one of the toughest football players on the team.
What position does he play?
Every position.
Oh, wow.
He plays both sides.
That's ball.
He plays both sides, wherever they need him for that play. That's just the way he is.
Wow.
And that shakes
Bowling Green, isn't it?
They don't know what to do when he's lining up somewhere different all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He actually blocked a punt, and recovered it and made a touchdown last night.
Yeah, he's a pretty tall fella.
Yeah. All right, back to bees.
All right.
Well, congratulations to you.
Hey, Joe, that's Bowling Green, isn't it?
Yes, Bowling Green.
Yeah, they at least back in the 80s, they were pretty dominant in football. I guess maybe they still are. I don't know.
Well, they went all the way to the last game last year, and they're going all the way to the last game this year. So they be in Jackson.
What are they playing? Okay, they're playing in that Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana
Yeah.
league. Yeah.
Where they played last year, they lost the game, the last game last year. They did have a disadvantage. They'd never played on turf, and that place where they played last year was turf, and they just didn't know how to play on it.
Mm-hmm.
They was falling down, slipping and sliding. It was raining and everything.
Yeah. Probably didn't have the right kind of shoes. You gotta have special shoes for that when it gets wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, something you wouldn't normally think about, but that muscle memory makes a difference. When those guys are used to playing on something, in and out, it'll make a difference.
And the only gripe they had was the other team played on turf most of the time anyway, so they were used to it.
Yeah.
Tom, did you get up and rescue that swarm?
Oh, no, I sure didn't. I've been pretty tied up, honestly.
He's not going to get that swarm, Mike. I'm telling you, he's not going to get it.
It really is not in a good place. It's difficult to get to, and I'm just saying if I have to go there and get it, it's gonna take probably a few hours, half a day out of my schedule to do it, and unfortunately, I just haven't had time to put toward it. You know, they're the ones that decided to swarm out of a box, so if they'd have stayed in there, they'd been taken care of well.
Need to build you a net like when they catching them monkeys.
Yeah.
On those old videos, they shoot that net over that whole tree and catch all them monkeys.
I did a cutout this summer that was 30 feet to the eave that it was in.
Stick on there and shake it hard. Shake the tree, cut the tree.
That's pretty high up, Mike.
Yeah, we set up pipe staging and stuff, and it was comfortable.
Yeah.
Got it out, put it in my bee yard. 2 weeks later, it absconded. Tell me that was a kick in the pants.
Hopefully you got paid well for that job.
I did it for free.
I just saw where you come in, Kimberly.
Yeah, that one probably kind of stung a little bit then.
Yeah, beautiful. The most gentle bees too.
Really?
Yeah.
I've encountered that a couple times in doing cutouts. You know, most of the time when you start in on them and you're cutting drywall or plywood or whatever that might be, that tends to upset most bee colonies, right? But I've had a couple that I cut out. One was in the floor. There's two that stand out in my head, particularly. One was in the cabin floor that I cut out. And I'll tell you what, after I got into this thing and pulled it back, I never had any bees fly off my face. Finally, I just pulled off my veil and I'm just working in a t-shirt and shorts and doing my thing. And I never took one sting. They were the most calm and gentle bees.
Yeah, I ended up taking all my gear off and then 30 feet in the air doing it. I was like,
Yeah. Well, it's never comfortable wearing all that gear when you're doing anything, right? You know, it's just
you're
kind
trying to
of
look up in a soffit and the sun's in your eyes with a veil on. You can't see anything.
That's right. Yeah, it's a
Then you
pain.
gotta get a flashlight out to see what you're doing.
Yeah. You know, I've noticed
Yeah,
typically if you're doing
I had the same.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I had the same thing. I cut bees out of a birdhouse, and those bees were so gentle, and I was so excited to get those. And 2 weeks later, they absconded. It's like, come on.
Yeah. Frustrating.
So have we increased on our party night as far as numbers?
There's 21 reservations so far. So 21 out of 50.
So there's 3 more, I think, since last night, if I remember correctly. So I think we landed at about 19. They started to sign up very, very quickly right out of the gate, and then it slowed down because I didn't see any emails first thing this morning when I woke up. But there must have been a couple more come through.
Signed up during this.
Yeah. Is that the let me copy that.
Yes, that's
I can't copy that. Can you
I posted it on here already. It's posted on here.
Yeah, but I want to, like, when on Monday nights when I go on Bill's thing, I was going to be able to. I don't have.
share it.
Well, I sent it to you through Messenger on Facebook. You should be able to copy it from there.
It shouldn't. I looked at it and I can't find it there.
I'll send it to you again. That's fine.
I mean, I have all. I seem like it's disappeared.
I'll send it to you again. I'll get it now.
Let's see, still says 19 to 50.
I know this just because I haven't updated this.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So that's on the first.
Yes.
Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And then Thursday night is the meat thing.
Hey, Big Mike, you gonna be at Nobby on Wednesday?
We're gonna be there. We got a 20-hour drive, and depending on weather.
Oh yeah,
20 hour.
Good Lord.
So we're coming from southern New Hampshire. There's no easy way there.
Yeah. Well, yes, there is. It's called an airplane.
How much stuff can you bring home?
It depends on if you're the only person on that airplane. If it's your airplane or then you can bring home a lot.
Fly down and rent a truck on the way back.
There you go.
Well, that's what Brian at Flower Street's doing.
Yeah.
He's flying in and they're renting a car to drive home.
Mm-hmm. A truck, actually, I think.
Yeah.
Or a U-Haul or something.
That's why them money people operate, Mike. That's poor folk. I'm lucky to even get a cart behind the mule.
I'll send you a bottle of honey, JW. That way you can have something to eat tomorrow.
Then I got to rent a car and everything else. It's just as easy to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah, I got my Mosquito coffee pot. So we go. I'll bring 6-7 batteries with me.
Or you could be like us, drive down there and be thankful that other people that live near you are going down also, so they can drive half your stuff back for you also.
I was looking under via honeybees instead of your thing, Melissa. That was it.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I'm getting ready to use my Lyson uncapper. Except for now, it's gotten so cold up here. I just had to order 220 electric heaters to put in the room to heat the room back up.
Yeah.
So did you get the automatic uncapper?
No, I got the manual.
Okay.
But
You're still gonna like it, Mike.
It had been used for a year. The guy died. I paid it $2,000 for it.
Really?
Yeah,
That's a pretty good price, honestly.
it was like brand new.
Heck yeah. If I'd had the deal like that, I'd have jumped on something like that too. I mean, I don't think you're going to go wrong with that machine, Mike. You're going to really like it, you know?
Yeah. Is there much adjusting? Oh, you got the automatic, but it should be the same thing. You just put your frames on and.
There you go, Joey. He's got his tickets. Yeah, you're right, Mike. I can't. We didn't do a video on that, did we? I don't think I made a video on adjusting that. But if Better Bee does have a video that talks about the adjustment on it.
Right.
It's not the best video. You'll kind of have to figure it out a little bit, but basically you'll take whatever frame you're going to use. And I'll tell you this, it'll work a lot better for you if you have one style of frame, meaning you don't go from a wooden frame to a plastic one to a deep frame to a shallow. If you're going to do that, it's going to be really hard for you. You really want to adjust it for mediums or deeps, and then also the thickness of the frame. And Charlie, myself, and Bill from Shenandoah Bee Supply were kind of chatting a little bit about it last night when we were talking about frames. And I was sticking with the same frames that I have. I'm not going to veer away from that at all, so that it keeps my. I never had any misfeeds. I spent probably an hour and a half going over it and learning it and understanding the adjustments and what needed to be done and where you would make the adjustments from. And it was time well spent, because I don't remember how many frames I ran through it, but I never had one misfeed. I never had anything jam up. Everything worked very smooth and flawlessly.
But I have some deeps and some mediums. Am I gonna have an issue with that?
So I didn't actually do any deeps through mine. I just stuck with the mediums. There's an adjustment to adjust the frame for a deep. So there is some adjustment differences you would have to make. As far as the thickness of the blades, that might be the same. So you may only have to adjust a small aspect of the feeder trough that goes down into it for that deep frame. But what I would suggest is run all of one frame first, and if you have the deeps, come back, make your adjustments for that deep frame, and then run those.
Right.
It should not be too hard. But Mike, what you should do is make a video on you doing that. Had I thought about it ahead of time, maybe I should have made a video on adjusting the machine and what it looked like. And maybe this winter, if I have some downtime and free time, I may make a couple of videos, and I may kind of talk about that process or things like that, if it helps.
I acquired some lice in 6 frame, they're polynukes that latch together.
Yeah.
And so I bought a couple more just to have. And there's virtually no videos on how to put them together, or if you're supposed to glue them or anything.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed with the instructions on the license itself when it talks about setting something up. I just feel like for the amount of money you spend on something like that, they should have some pretty detailed instructions on things, or you know what, or nonetheless, they could send a service guy out and show you, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a little bit lacking. Another contact that you could try is you can call Dwayne with Dogwood Ridge Bees. He sells the licensed equipment, and you can call the people at Better Bee, and they can probably help you as well.
Yeah.
I did ask a couple questions to one of the techs at Better Bee about a few things, and he offered a little bit of advice on a couple of things too. So utilize those two guys, and that may help out a little bit too.
There's a lot of, I don't know, have you, either one of you thought about Googling it? Maybe there's lots of times there's how-to tutorials on different things.
I look for a lot on YouTube, but they're very limited.
You're absolutely right, Big Mike. You're not going to find a lot. It is pretty limited. I don't know if you Google search licensed equipment, our video might pop up. I don't know. We may not have enough clout on there to get anything to pop up yet. I don't know, but I noticed that there wasn't much. There's a little bit. But
you have a YouTube channel also?
Yeah, that's right. We don't have many videos. It's via Honeybees.
Same as your. All right.
Yep.
That's
Yes.
right. Yeah. VIA and then honeybees.
Okay.
And there is one video on there that Melissa had done. It really doesn't go over the actual adjustment part per se, but I'll tell you what, Mike, I want to leave my I want to put my email address on here, and feel free to send me an email. And then I can send you my phone number if you like, and you're welcome to give me a call if you have any questions, and I'm happy to do what it is that I can for you.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to help.
Is that in the private chat or the regular chat?
I just put it in the regular chat there under Via Honeybees. It's viahoneybees@gmail.com.
Okay, I got a question, Tom.
Yes, sir.
I'm probably supposed to know this answer already. How did y'all come up with that name, Via Honeybees?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What
So,
does that mean?
Well, it has a double meaning.
well, actually, hold on. Do you guys want the
Let me tell you, it won't take as long, Joey.
do you want the short version or you
Yeah.
want
They
the
named it after their children.
Is there any such thing as the short version?
well, I don't know.
Well,
It depends on
if
who
you-
tells the story.
If you want
her or
the
me.
short version, I'll tell you. If you
Yeah.
want the long extended version,
I'll let
he
her
can tell you.
tell you. We're not gonna be here all night. We ain't got that kind of time. Go ahead, babe.
Via means from the, so right?
Or by the
Or by the. So from the honeybees, or it's our kids' initials, Vanessa,
Yeah.
Isaac, and Andrew. So
Oh,
we've got kind of a double meaning there. From the honeybees,
Oh,
or
that's
Vanessa,
cool.
Isaac, and Andrew.
Well, we got by that without a 30.
You're welcome. You're welcome. He would have
Okay.
had it.
My version.
No.
No, so actually years ago, I was thinking
Here we go.
I-
You're getting
so-
both versions.
I have a landscaping company called Clean Cut Lawn Care.
They
I've been in
didn't ask about
operation for 24 years, right? When I first started, I was doing tree work and lawn care only. That's all I did. But over the years, I've branched out to many other services: landscaping, dirt work, minor excavation, all kinds of stuff, right? So anyway, I said to myself, I need to rebrand the company because Clean Cut Lawn Care pigeonholes me into a small service area, right? And that's not what we do. And we've kind of started to move away from it a little bit. And I may move completely away from it in the near future. But anyway, so I thought, how is I going to, yeah, right there. JW has my hat.
See, that's the reason I got the hat, because he don't use it anymore. See, it's
hold up. Show it
Now, I
again.
I got a few of them.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I got a few of them.
yeah.
But so I thought about names to rebrand, right? So the name I come up with was
Right.
Via Properties, which kind of encompassed just property maintenance and such. So Vanessa, Isaac, Andrew. Well, I sat on it. I've never done anything with it over the years. And then anyway, when we started beekeeping, we needed to call it something. So Melissa stole my name, is what I'm boiling. That's what the whole moral of the
I
story
came up
is.
with it in the first place.
No, you didn't.
Let's-
She's
let's
telling
agree
fibs
to
now.
disagree.
She's telling fibs now.
Hey,
Anyway,
Ryan.
I've got to go to bed, guys. No. Yeah, so that's the long story of the story.
Yeah. So Vanessa, Isaac, Andrew, or by the, from the.
But Roy had a question for you up there about the
Um,
right here.
Oh, I'm
Sure,
sorry.
try.
Ray. I didn't
I'm
even see
sorry. We clicked at the same time.
You're
it.
good.
Sorry about that. Yes, sir. That's right. I have two of the Hilcos. Well, technically, right now, I only have one. JW came to my house, and then when he left, I didn't have it anymore. So I don't know where it went.
Oh, uh-oh.
But I had a 20 when I first started off. I had a 9-frame Dadat, and then I moved to the straight to the
The
24.
Hillcup, yeah. the
Then
one
I
you-
moved to the straight to the Hilco 24 frame, and then last year, whenever I made this little, I call it a poor man's version or a mini line that I piecemealed together. On our YouTube channel, if you wanted to search that, you can see the way I set it up, and I kind of give a brief breakdown of it. But then I had purchased last summer in June through the Missouri Bee Day, which was through our state conference. I called up John and told him I wanted another extractor, which was a 32 frame. And then after I used it, I really liked it. It's really stable. They're great machines. I love his warranty. They're cost effective. And so I told her, I'm like, hey, I want to upgrade to another 32 frame and have two 32 frame extractors. And it just worked out that JW wanted something bigger, and we made a deal. And so now I just have one. 32 frame, but I'm ordering another
So
one.
then you're going to go ahead and get that 42.
No, I don't think so. I don't think
he's
so.
got that big one now.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with the 32. I think 32 frames will do just fine.
That worked out really well.
Yeah, it did.
If I remember right, I looked at that 24, but I think it wouldn't fit in my door. That's why I didn't look at it twice.
Yeah, I think, what was that, JW? Was that like 31 or 32 inches wide?
Well, it wouldn't fit in JW's backseat of his truck. I know that.
Yeah, I got a little old Toyota Tacoma. We couldn't get it in the back door. I had to put it in the bed. So
how wide did that measure?
I went down there. He didn't finish the story. He was talking about I went down and the when I left, the extractor was gone. Well, when I went down there, I had a pocket full of Ben Franklin's too, and when I left, they were gone. So I don't know. I don't know what took place there, Mike.
Hey, I bet she took them.
Well, I guess I did take them, but you took them back.
Yep.
So
it's short.
When you deal with him, he's got a little horse trader in him, so you really want to watch him. He missed his calling. I can tell you that.
We had a deal before you even came down here. You trying to sell me out. And hey, I even did him a good favor. I sold his extractor down here to some good folks. Didn't I?
Now let's tell the whole story.
Well, okay. So the rest of the story is he brings his extractor down.
Half of it.
We make a trade, and he leaves half of it home. That's the story. Did I leave anything out?
Well, maybe a little of the details.
Yeah. No, he made it all good. We met up in Illinois, and we got it all squared away. So we were able to get him something a little bigger that it would be more user friendly for him. I have a better market for moving some of that stuff here in St. Louis as opposed to where he's at out in the farm fields. And so I was able to find a home for it here in St. Louis much easier. So it worked out really well for the both of us. And I think he'll be happy with that bigger one. I mean, Joey, you have a lot of John stuff from Hilco too. And I think that John really works hard at making sure that people are happy with the product, Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's what makes a good businessman, taking care of the people he supplies to.
And he went to on some of them that had the I'm trying to think of what it's called, the printed ring in the extractors.
Yeah.
Now he's got the stainless steel ring in them, and you can actually buy that stainless steel ring from him and replace the printed one if you want to.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't think they actually have it on the website, but you can. What I was told by the lady that worked at Louisiana, I just forgot her name. The lady that worked at Louisiana associate meeting. She said that you could get that ring and put it on there.
I don't think that's right.
I bought 3 of his settling tanks. He had, I think they were like 18 gallon. They were on clearance. And all of a sudden one shows up and I'd ordered 3. So I call him. I said, oh yeah, you paid for 3. He said, yeah, we only sent you 1. I said, yeah, I know that. And they were supposed to have a filter screen that snaps on top, then the cover. So the next one it gets in a bigger box. I'm like, huh. So I look and it's different. And I call him back. I said, I got a different one. This one's got a screen on top. I don't think the first one you sent me had the screen. So I had to give her the numbers. They were really great to deal with. She says, nope, they're the same one. We forgot to send you the screen. And then the screen started showing up. I got one day and one the next. So now I've got three tanks and 4 screens.
Yeah.
They do a lot of mailing they don't have to do. I think it's because he's probably grown so fast.
Any issue that we've had with anything that we bought from John, he immediately fixes it or makes it right somehow.
No, they're wonderful to deal with, but it's gotta cost him money. Is all I keep thinking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'm sure that probably does cost a little money for sure, having to do it like that. But I'm sure, just like any business, John hasn't been around for a long time, so he's still working out a few kinks and probably some growing pains in there too. Because, I mean, John's grown pretty quickly for a business.
Yeah, I mean,
I ordered
that was what I was going to say.
I ordered queen excluders to pick up down there because they were so cheap.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I seen him at Tava like 3 years ago, and now he's got, what is it, several tractor and trailers, and he expanded on that building of his and all that stuff.
Well, I don't think he has several. I think he only has one tractor trailer with a couple of.
I don't know. He had that one video. He got like 5 tractor trailers sitting there just for storage.
Yeah, he's had that for a while. Those tractor trailer. Or the trailers for the tractors. He's had those for a long time. When I went up to his old location earlier on, he had those there. So, I mean, I'm sure now it really helps him out to haul materials and such, because he's the one that went out and got a CDL himself. When we had ours in February, at our event, when Chris Summers came up, I said, "Hey, where's John?" He's like, "Oh, he'll be here." He goes, "He's finishing up his CDL training." And I'm like, "Oh, he's doing himself." He said, "Yeah." So John himself actually is the one that got a CDL, and he may have an employer now that drives too. I don't know, but anyway, John was the one that got that. So
now, do you guys live anywhere near them?
Not too far. He's over in Illinois.
Have you ever been over to his place?
That's right. Yeah, I think it only took me a few hour drive, if I remember right, maybe 2.5, 3 hours.
Nice.
And I drove.
Yeah, I'm only 40 minutes from Maxan.
Oh, hey, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a few of their.
I was down there a couple weeks ago. What did I get? Got a bunch of stuff, and I was trying to get them to make hive tools for Brad Hogg again.
Yeah.
For vape apiaries.
Yeah.
The Maxan hive tools. They were made out of carbon steel, tool steel, instead of stainless. They're indestructible.
Yeah. Yeah, those will be hard. You won't be able to. You won't probably bend those.
No, I have one, and then I was going through a box of lathe tool parts I bought this summer. I dumped the bucket out, and there was a hive tool in there. I remember putting it in the bucket. It was at a yard sale. Oh, I brushed it, and it's another Maxan one.
Yeah,
it's all rusted, but it's still got the label. This is for beehives only.
Huh.
The sticker's still stuck to it.
Interesting. Yeah, I really like their stuff. We have 3 of their bottling tanks, and I really like them. I mean, they had a little bit of problem with getting stuff out right after COVID. Like, you couldn't get anything. And it was, I kind of feared a little bit. I talked to the lady in St. Louis that supplies the stuff that orders from them. And I asked her, I said, "Hey, when are those tanks coming in?" She goes, "I don't know, Tom." She goes, "I can't even get an email back from these guys anymore." And I'm like, "You think they're going under?" She goes, "I don't know. I mean, I just heard that they could not get stainless steel." And it got to the point where I think they were being, pressured so much by people because they weren't able to get stuff out, that I think that they just stopped responding to stuff, is what it appears. But luckily they're able to bounce back. So I'm really glad for that. I like having those American made companies.
Yeah, that's what the guy, when I bought my tank through Rossman, they were there. I think they're the biggest retailer for them.
Oh, okay.
And they said they were like you said, they wouldn't answer their calls or anything else. And then that tank took, I think, 11 months for me to get it.
Yeah.
And all, but it was,
I actually ended up buying 2 date ant tanks at the time. Bought one, then went ahead and bought another one for my light, one for my dark. And I'm like, well, and they weren't, date ants weren't bad tanks. I wanted a Maxan. I liked the few different things about it, and that's what I wanted. They were a little bit more expensive. And, say again, Mike?
They are solid.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I have a 300 pound, and then I have the smaller one.
That's what I have. I got the 300 pound one.
Yeah. Now, which one's the 300 pound? Would that be?
That's 25 gallons.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the next step the one step above the smallest one, which is 18.
Yep, that's right. So I have, or is it 18 or 16?
I think it's 18.
Is it 18?
18
Okay.
or 19.
No, it's not that.
I'll look it up.
Well, I have
Well,
the
no,
small one, Charlie.
I'm thinking of John's. John's was a 19.
Okay. Yeah, I have the small one, Charlie, and I have two of those. She said 16. So I had the 16 gallon, and I have two of those 25s. And honestly, they're a good size because I mean, I don't like to keep hunting them for a long period of time. I keep them in those food grade buckets until I need them, and then I put them into the tank. So yeah, I really like their stuff.
I don't know. I use it as a, like you say, a storage. I mean, I'm bottling. Well, like last night, after we got done talking, I was down. I needed to bottle. I bottled like 30 some pounds, so I wouldn't get hit yet today. But go ahead, Mike.
You know, the glass tube, the sight tube. I bought out a woman's husband died who kept bees for years and years, and he had an old Maxent bottling tank. And I said, I need the glass. He says 15-inch. I said, no, it's 18. He says, no, they're not. So when I was down there and I was talking to him, I had to actually order a special tube and have my plumber friend cut it for me.
Mm-hmm.
He says in the old days, they were all made by hand. Right?
Really?
There. He says, so it's wherever the guy put the fittings is what they cut the glass to.
Okay.
He says, now they're done, a little more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes, no, it can't be. I said, well, it says Maxim. It's got a big sticker right on it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was down there talking to the guy, and then I have one of their wax melters, same size as the small bottling tank. And I was down there because I wanted to get something for the slum gum, to push it down. He says, we don't have anything. All we got is this prototype. He says, we've only made 2 of them. Yeah, I walked out of there with it. I paid for it.
Oh, boy. Yeah, did he make you really pay up on that thing?
Well, he says, I'd have to get $200. And I reached right in and I said, here you go.
Oh, my gosh.
I said, I'm injured. I said, I need to do some wax.
Yeah. So there was a comment up here.
John has wheels on his uncappers. I can't remember if I started to say yeah, but I don't. I can't remember now if he
What,
had
uncapping tank?
Yeah, I wanted to say yeah too, but I could be wrong. I don't have one, but I wanted to say
What's that? I have a Maxim
wheels on it because
they have locking wheels.
Yeah, if you're sitting there uncapping, I think it might move too much.
What you're talking the capping
They
spinner?
probably have locks on them, don't they?
Are you talking the capping spinner?
No, the uncapping tank's what he said, I think.
Yeah, the long rectangular one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one. I have. It has wheels with it.
So
Okay.
Yeah, the wheels have locks. I bet.
Locking wheels on it.
This one looks like
Go
it
closer,
has.
closer.
I can't go any closer. Okay.
Tip it.
I'm trying to tip it.
Tip it more. I can't see.
Thomas, be quiet. There you go. So if that's the one you're talking about, it appears to have wheels on it.
Oh no, I have a Maxent.
I know, but somebody was asking about the Hilco one.
Yeah, the Hilco.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you were talking. We were talking.
I think the wheels is actually optional, isn't it? Or they were.
So Steve,
Nope, it says 4 caster wheels allow the tank to be maneuvered.
They might have made it come with it now.
So Steve had an earlier comment up here. Steve Wearmouth says, I ordered an 18 frame extractor from Hilco and they forgot to send the legs. I had to strap it to a table extract. Yeah. So interestingly enough, when I picked up that one from the Missouri Bee Day here in June, when I got it in, it was in a big box and I slid it on my flatbed. Then I got it up to the shop and I slid it off and I stored it. And that was in June and I wasn't extracting until July. And I didn't pull it out until probably 2 days before I was going to start extracting. Brought it home and brought it in the garage and I started to unpack it. And I'm looking at it. And I'm like, where's the legs at? And I'm like, so I'm looking through at the box thinking I might have misplaced them or something happened. Looked all through there, couldn't find it. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have any legs for this thing. And I'm like, this thing is useless for me. So what I should have done is I should have opened it up long before then, and I didn't, and I was just really busy. So here it was, and I called him up, and I'll tell you, John made it right with me. He's like, "When are you going to extract?" I'm like, "I was going to do it in like a day and a half or 2 days," and he's like, "Well," he goes, "I'll bring him down to you," and I'm like, "Man, I really hate for you to have to ruin your weekend." And I said, "Wait until Monday; it'll be fine." He says, "No, I just want to make sure that I get you taken care of." And at the same time, he brought him to my house. At the same time, you guys remember on some of those heater elements that he uses for like the clarifier as well as the heated tanks, that he had a little minor issue with a failure or a little fail-safe piece of a relay inside those heater elements that could cause them to just run away and heat up and not turn off and scorch honey and stuff. They actually redesigned them slightly and added a second, I guess, fail-safe, if you will, into that whole mechanism. And I said, "Yeah, I got the parts." I said, "But I had a few questions about how to wire it because there's a few color-coded wires that are different." And he said, "Well," he goes, "I'm not really sure about it." He goes, "But I'll tell you what, if I'm already coming down, I'm just going to bring you one that's already set up." And I'm like, "Okay." So he actually brought a new one down, and we hooked it up and made sure everything was fine. And he brought the legs down. And we chatted for about a few minutes, and I was going to take him out and grab some lunch or some dinner for his trouble. And he's like, no, I need to get back home. And so he drove him down to me, dropped him off, and he drove right back home. So he probably blew, it was probably 6 hours of his day, coming down and heading back home. So, I'm sure, like Big Mike, you were saying, I'm sure that cost him some money. But, he was like, he goes, you treated us right and bought a lot of stuff from us.
I've heard of a lot of kind of issues and stuff, but everybody's always said that he's made it good and made it good quick.
That's right.
And that's all you can ask for.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
A lot of the stuff he has no control over.
Yeah.
And, some people that doesn't fit in their schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and truthfully, had I gotten looked at a little bit sooner, which again, hindsight, I should have done that. And then I could have just said, "Hey, I don't have the legs," and he would have shipped them out normal, and I'd have gotten them within a week, and it was no big deal, But unfortunately, I didn't do that, and here we were, and he wanted to make sure it was right. So again, I have no issues with that whatsoever. He went above and beyond, in my opinion. So, and
I remember, we were finishing up a house, and it was high end. It was 4 kitchen sinks before we got one that wasn't dented.
Yeah.
You can't blame the plumber, can't blame the carpenter.
That's right. Yeah, there aren't too many companies that will be like, "Oh, hey, sorry, Big Mike, I'm going to go ahead and bring you that sink down. We're going to get a guy in a truck and drive it down to you." They're going to say, "Hey, sorry, we're going to ship another one out to you, and it'll be there when it gets there."
Or
right?
even ship it like next day, because John has done that before too. Hey, just ship things next day.
Yeah. Another thing to point out too, as far as it, I'm not, some paid spokesman for John Hill or whatever, but when you're just kind of talking out loud here, there's not another company out there that I'm aware of whatsoever that has the same warranty or even
he's got a good warranty.
What is it? 4 years or 10, 410? I think it's 4 years on electronics and 10 years on all the stainless and stuff. So, that's pretty
You were
good.
talking about frames, and I know there's difference between wood versus plastic. Is there a difference as far as from one wood manufacturer to the other, or is it all standardized? Huh?
As far as the width of the sidebars, I don't know the answer to that. I think they're fairly similar, but I know for a fact that sometimes those top bars on some frames are thicker on some than others. So I know there's a difference there. Yes.
But I don't know if that makes a difference.
But as far as going through that automatic on capper, it's more a problem for the sidebars or the thickness of it as the frame goes down into it. And I don't know the answer to that, Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
How did you rectify that, Brian Lee? You said that cross-threaded the screw. Were you able to get that cleaned up with a tap or something, or what did you have to do there? Oh, wow. Okay. Yep. Well, at least it didn't mess up the threads, the threads on the tank itself.
I tell you what was really another time save was that clarifier. That clarifier was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a simple piece of equipment, but it cut down on that bucket shuffle that I was doing before with all the strainers and shuffling buckets when one strainer would get clogged.
Yeah.
There was no bucket shuffling whatsoever with that clarifier.
Mike, do you process a lot of honey yourself?
I think I got about 2,800 pounds last year.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
I did that with a Maxon uncapping tank and my 9-frame extractor.
Oh my gosh.
How long did that take you?
That probably took you 3 weeks.
No, I could do about 400 pounds on a night.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, just with a bread knife.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
What
will probably impress you more is I don't use the 9 frames. I just used the 3 and did them flat and flipped them.
Really?
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
Holy cow. Yeah. Wow. Hey, Mike, you need a bigger extractor, buddy.
I got a 20 frame now.
Oh, okay.
I haven't
Gotcha.
extracted yet this year.
Okay. Wow. You still have a little bit to do then. Yeah, you're probably gonna need those.
I had to have surgery. I had no feeling in my hand, and it was the nerve in the elbow. So they had to pull the nerve out and relocate it in the forearm muscle.
Oh goodness.
So,
Wow.
yeah, so
Yeah.
limited to no weight, and then 10 pounds for 6 weeks after the 4 weeks.
Oh yeah. That's rough.
But I mean, I lost a lot of mobility and stuff prior to the surgery.
Yeah.
They gave me a grip test the other day, and 5 pounds in my left hand and 80 in my right.
Oh boy. Yeah. You got a little bit more recovering to do there then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like Roy got the clarifier too. It was a game changer.
Yeah. Talking about the clarifier there, Roy brings out, says the clarifier was a game changer for me this year from Hilco. I would agree with that. And when you look at the clarifier itself, which is is it a 40? It's a 4 compartment. Oh, I forget the size of it. It's not other companies make some bigger.
Isn't it 25 gallons or something like that?
That might be right, Charlie. That sounds about right. 24, 25 gallons. It sounds about right.
Yeah.
But the cost on that is about half of what you'll spend for a Lyson. A Maxan is much more expensive than that. They're over $2,000 for one of those. And I went ahead and bought that Hilco clarifier. Okay, Melissa says 24 gallon. Now this one is just heated on the bottom, whereas some of those other clarifiers, so we're not comparing apples to apples here. Some of the other clarifiers are heated around all the sides and the bottom, but the tops are not, of course. But John's is just heated on the bottom. But I'll tell you, for me anyway, now it might be a little different for you, Big Mike. You're up north, but in the summertime when I extract, it's already warm here in St. Louis. So keeping that honey moving and flowing well enough to go through that, I guess it's an 1.5-inch tube. Is that right on there? That 1.5 inch, I think it's an 1.5 inch tube, and then I use his pump to pump it up into barrels. But that clarifier did a really, really good job. And again, it was about half the cost of what you'd spend on most of your other clarifiers. Now, again, I know we're not comparing apples to apples.
It doesn't say.
But for what I need and for how I used it, it worked just fine. There's not much to them. They're basically a tank with 3 dividers, making 4 compartments, and you have a I guess you call it immersion heater or whatever, a submersion heater, element inside there, so that there's not a lot to go wrong, with those things. And I mean, they work well. So that's why, like I said, I call it my.
Now, does it have water on the bottom, or is it an electric element?
It uses yes and yes. It uses an electric element, and it's a 110 actually.
Is that where the element goes right there? Is that the drain hole?
That's the drain hole. But it does have water in there, so you're heating water on the bottom of that tank.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, because that was the thing that when I was looking at a bottling tank, that a lot of your bottling tanks will have an element on the bottom of the tank that's like an electric blanket also.
Mhm.
And when I looked at Maxan, I'm like, yeah, it's more money, but you've got water on the bottom and on the sides. It's
Water
more
damage.
even. It's more even heat,
Mhm.
and a much heavier built machine.
Yeah.
And something like that, I like it being heavier built. You know, people say, well, you know, buy a Maxan extractor. I said, well, it's an extractor. I said, you know, a thin wall extractor versus a heavy built stainless is there's no game change there.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, all the parts, as long as it's got a steel basket, the only thing about a basket like my man leg, the other ones have flat stock where it's got notches cut out by a plasma cutter or whatever, which I like better. It holds those frames in better.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I look at as far as an extractor goes, whether you have a motor on top or a motor on the bottom, that kind of a thing. I mean, the one thing that John talks about is having that slanted bottom on it. And when I was buying my extractor, I was talking to my friend Lloyd. I says, why haven't they figured out how to make it where it all drains out that hole in the front? And then when I don't know what, if any, rest of these companies have woke up after Hilco brought that stuff in or not. And
Yeah. That was another thing that I considered, Charlie, whenever I was purchasing it. I liked the idea of that. I'm like, you know what? That's the right kind of thinking, you know? And,
but also on top of that, from what, I mean, I don't have a Hilco, but you can take the motor off and you can pull the basket out with not a whole bunch of effort. I think it's pretty, isn't it? You get in a quick deassemble.
It's basically two big plastic screws. That's right. What Joey said.
Yeah, you can have it off in about 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm. And you take the motor, the gear reducer, and the electronic controller, the cord and everything. You take the entire thing off. And in order to if you want to clean it, you pop those two thumb screws, and there's almost kind of like a J bolt. Take that thing off and set it aside, because when you're washing it down, that hardly ever gets dirty. You might just hand wipe it down with a wet cloth or something.
But I mean, he's got a design where it's designed to be quick attach.
Yes.
Or quick deattach.
Now that Chinese extractor I had, that 8-framer, it would do 8 mediums or 4 deeps. You could take the motor off. You could take the top off in probably about a minute, and it would take you about 10 minutes and some few choice words to get it back on.
See it, Ryan.
I got that.
Tom, on your
Every time.
how do you have your extractors hooked up to your clarifier?
I mean, I can try to explain it, but it'd be easiest just to send you to Via Honeybees and look at that video that's on there. But so
there it is, Joey.
Huh? Hang on.
There it is, right there.
That's a
Right
V-Bore or Vivo?
That's the extractor.
That's
it. That's the V-Bore.
that's the
framer.
one.
That was a V-Bore. That's exactly the one Joey's talking about.
Yeah.
It's got 2 little screws that you got to get perfectly lined up, and then they'll fall over when you're trying to put that thing on.
L screws.
Yeah.
I only use one on each side. I don't.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I just use one on each side.
Yeah, and my tank got all dented up in shipping, and it makes it even harder to get it back together. And I had to beat the bottom part was pushed down. But the thing is, when I contacted V-Bore, they said, how much would you take for a discount? Because they didn't want me to send it back, and they didn't want to have to send me another one because it was cheap anyway. It was like, I don't know, I got it on sale for like $220, but they knocked $60 off for the dented tank, so it still works fine. So I got that thing for $150 or whatever it was. But it works. What the thing I worry about it, Joey, is if those wells on those legs is going to break one day. I wouldn't know what to do after that if that happens.
Joey, I pretended to be you again.
The motor runs pretty good.
Philip, just what I'm going to do, I just pre-ordered one of those thorn extraction trailers. You know, that's got everything built
Oh,
in.
well, that's that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get about
Just don't leave it out there on the curb because I'll be coming
Yeah.
to get it.
You can
Tom's
get
on
about
his
10
way.
grand
Hey.
off on them if you pre-order for Nobby. So.
Hey, JW, send me your address again. I just want to send you something nice. I need your address. Tell me where you parked the trailer too.
That's the easy way. I want to get that in, Joey. They did their Hilco ad. I want to get my thorn ad in on there. I'm the thorn rep for
You know,
Southern Illinois.
I think I've actually mentioned this before. Back in the day, things has changed over the last 15 years. But as long as I can remember, and up to like 15 years ago, all our schools in our parish or county, if you will, had what we called cannon centers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was called. You could go there and you could get your peas shelled. You could do it yourself, or somebody might be there to help you shell your peas, run them through those shellers. There was all kind of equipment like that. They had freezers, deer hunters. We would kill deer. We could go hang our deer in the freezers, and the crew could come in a few days later and actually come through there and process the meat. We could chop it off, cut it up, or debone it, whatever we're going to do. If they still had those, we could probably talk them into giving us a grant for extractors sitting up there. But none of our schools has anything called a cannon center anymore. I guess that was phased out when everybody quit gardening.
It's either that or the health department got after them.
Yeah.
Around here, that'd be that they just couldn't handle that.
But yeah, as far back as I can remember, I'm 68 years old. As far back as I could remember, we had cannon centers. And it was on the school property. Now, I never did get a good answer on where it was actually school related or just parish related, but it was on the school property. Because all you had to do, you didn't call the school. All you had to do, there was a person that was over that. You just called them, hey, I need to bring this or that to the cannon center. And they'd make sure it was open.
That's really cool.
Well, in Illinois, you can't even process a deer now, Joey, in the same processing place that they process beef or pork for slaughter, for butcher shop.
Yeah.
Can't do deer, or if you do deer, you got to shut them down for 30 days and change it all over.
Yeah.
Does it have to do with CWD?
No, it has to do with politics. Crooked politics.
Yeah, I don't see why I see that. Yeah.
All of it's political nepotism anymore. All your state inspectors.
Yeah, there was actually a time when some of the kitchen workers would even take the
take it home,
kitchen scraps home with them to feed their hogs and everything.
Yep.
And the government put a stop to that.
Yep.
And said unless you have a cooker that we can inspect and approve, you can't take them. So all that went in the garbage in the landfill. So did it help anything? No. It just helped fill the landfill up quicker.
What she said was off, you move out, don't you, buddy?
Who are you talking to, JW? Turn your microphone off.
My dog's more important.
Oh, hey, he's a good old boy. I'll tell you what, his dog is a well-behaved dog too.
Yeah.
I have to train them.
I have to let him out. My wife was hollering that he was in the other room begging for her to let him out. She don't like to get up.
You know, I need to bring an extractor my cousin gave me, and I've been saying I was going to call Data Ant. I actually talked to one at the Louisiana convention, and he told me who to call. I had to look that number up. But I got an old extractor. Y'all were talking the other night about galvanized extractors. That's how old this thing is. It's galvanized. And I just actually wanted to make room and put it up in this honey house somewhere just to show it off. But I'm out of room. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But I do want to call them and find out how old it is.
Sell it back to Data and tell them they can put it in their historic room or their,
Well, they give me the right money, I'll send it to them.
Yeah.
Or rent it, or let them have it for a price. Let them rent it for a price.
There you go. We had gotten a call through our club last year about a beekeeper had been. Unfortunately, the old gentleman passed away, and his son was cleaning out, and he wanted to donate all of his dad's beekeeping equipment to the club. And there was a couple of hives in the back of there at this property that were kind of really completely unmanaged. They were grown over and such, and he needed to clean up this property to sell it. And his dad was a bit of a hoarder, but he had a couple of different pieces of equipment, and I don't remember the manufacturer name off the top of my head, but they were galvanized. And we were like, what do we do with this stuff? I'm like, I don't know. And a couple of people were trying to get me to take it home. And I said, I don't want that. I'm like, I wouldn't process honey in something galvanized. I'm like, I think we've evolved from that. I'm like, I wouldn't want to eat honey out of that. But I'm like, obviously at some point in time, that's how they use the type of material they used anyway.
Look, I put a lot of hours working in a paper mill as a construction electrician. And we were always burning galvanized. We was cutting and welding galvanized. And the welder, now get this, the welder would get milk, all the milk he wanted. They didn't necessarily send any to the welder's helper, which me. But the welder got all the milk he wanted. So for some reason they thought that would help. I guess they would give him breathing in that junk. And then all of a sudden, it was like overnight, we can't burn galvanized or weld galvanized without the safety man coming to approve us burning and cutting it.
Yeah.
And we have to have the respirators and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
I guess
it's funny how overnight everything just changes.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true, but I heard that's toxic to weld on galvanized or the coating. I don't know.
When you're burning it off, it's pretty much lead going in the air.
Okay, I see. Yeah, well, that'd be pretty toxic then.
When you would TVA, if you had to burn it or weld it with TVA, you had to have your respirator and everything with you. I can't hardly weld on this thing.
Yeah.
How's the swarm doing, Joey? That you was under your hive?
It's doing good. I actually looked at it yesterday. They're still working. They're in their own box now. Got top and bottom and everything. Hopefully they make it through the winter. Now, I hadn't been back in it since the video. So
you had me laughing the day you were moving hives. I go, you didn't strap that thing. I'm watching them go across. I said, how's that staying together?
Well, you kept readjusting it and moving it around. We're like, that thing's going to break apart any second.
Yeah.
This is fixing to be real entertaining.
I was so focused on getting behind that thing that I didn't even think about the strap until I got to the trailer. And I'm thinking, you idiot. You are an idiot. You just filmed all this. What you gonna do? How you gonna cover this up?
It made a good video. Everybody was on the edge of their seat waiting for it to fall apart.
I have not been.
I was working on a double nuke and going through it. I went through all the boxes and I got it all put together and I put the cover on and I look and there's a frame leaned up against the hive. I forgot to put one of the frames in.
Oh, I've done that so many times.
So I pulled the first box off. It had already stuck together to the second box. So I'm carrying it across to set it down, and that second box released full of bees. Oh, I got stung.
I've actually pulled the top box off like in January when I go through to rotate hives. and pulled the box up, and the bottom frame and the bottom box would come out with it. I've had that happen before.
That sounds funny. Rotating boxes in January.
Yeah.
I might go over and shovel off some hives.
Well, we're in a little bit different location.
Yeah, it is depressing in the spring when you guys are doing this, that, and this, and I'm looking out there and there's snow on the ground. I mean, I
Yeah.
got 2 more months.
And I'm in a short sleeve shirt.
Everybody's done getting quiet now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made me look at my clock. We done been running 2 hours and almost 50 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, you almost made 3.
Yeah. Might be a good time to end this thing, huh? I guess it is. Well, I appreciate everybody coming in. We still got 52 people watching.
Yeah.
Oh, we just lost 2.
You threatened to shut them down. They logged out.
Yeah. I just want to say good night to everybody. I appreciate everybody over in the chat coming in. Everybody coming in the studio and talking, giving their input. It was a good chat tonight. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's remember Tim and Hannah. They'll be having the funeral, if I got my dates right. They'll be having the funeral for her grandmother tomorrow. So let's remember them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stop the chat. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night,
And I'll
y'all.
see y'all.
Good night.
Thank you, Joey.
Say good night.
Everybody.